Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle Podcast. The podcast where, yes, we went, we saw, I was going to say we conquered, but we had some fun. We had some fun. And now we're here to talk about it and to discuss all the amazing things that basically the month of June delivered to us that we weren't able to talk about before. I'm, of course, your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante, and all the places that we find ourselves communicating these days, more on the Discord, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. I am, of course, joined this week, not by the Everborn Saga, because shout out to all the great and awesome and reliable and fantastic fathers out there. Shout out to y'all for Father's Day. You know, I pat myself on the back. It is what it is. But Mr. Everborn Saga will not be joining us today because he is earning he's getting his prize for being such a good dad. He's not going to be available today. So of course we're going to get a pinch hitter. I hear. Well, JD says he can't hear me. Is that the case, ladies and gentlemen? Can people? Oh, and now he said disregard that. Clearly, we are susceptible to our audience. We are here. We want to make sure that you can hear us. So yes, Mr. Everborn Saga will not be able to join us today because because wifey took him away for a much well-deserved weekend away for Father's Day. But of course, I am joined by the great one of the great ones in our community. We went to the Xbox watch party and all this. I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one who's not available IRL. But if you weren't able to join us on that watch party, you were also able to meet him because he joined us in real life. The man, Mr. Lucius Augustus. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being here. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. It's, I always used to say that a lot of these people don't play these games, and it's still true that they don't play these games. But what's also true is that these people need to go outside, because once you meet people in real life, it all changes. It's not about the smoke or anything like that. It's just about being a human being and interacting with other people.
Yeah.
The community event was a great showcase of that. So, shout out to Harky Chani and Ben Kenobi and Ains from Season Gaming and all those people who made that possible by putting their time, effort, and money on the line.
Oh, yeah. And we'll definitely get a bit more into that because I think a lot more flowers need to be thrown at them. They did like insane work, man. It is wonderful and wild what they were able to accomplish. And my only problem is I wish that I had more to show you. We have a video of it. It will go out soon enough, but we waited until all of it was available. I want it to be available, and I want everybody to watch it. I want you to watch the energy in the room and what happened before and what happened during and what happened after. There's just so much, but we'll get into that. But of course, because this is GCP and we are always humbled and appreciative of people giving of their time. Once you join us, you're always able to jump back in. That's how GCP and the gaming circle works. And with that in mind, we welcome one of the great voices that joins us in this community, the one and only Mr. Game Logic. Good morning, sir. Why do you look like a Japanese man this morning, sir?
like the CEO of Nintendo, Furukawa?
Yes.
Hey, I always enjoy
those
making
who don't
statements.
know you might make it an assumption that you look like this.
Hey, it's we're in the wake of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, so I felt I would pay some homage.
Appreciate that, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. As I said, and by the way, happy Father's Day to you, sir. I know you are a father of great humans. So shout out to you and everyone else in the Discord and in the chats right now who are watching and listening live, who've been doing the work, every day as we do. Shout out to all the fathers in the room. Thank you guys for being here. And shout out to the mothers who are allowing the fathers to be here for just a little bit. Thank you guys. So there we are. Let's see here. We're going to get this thing started as we do. This is going to be a nice, concise show. We want to talk about all the stuff we've seen, all the stuff that's happened since the gaming, since we left y'all the last time we were here on GCP in the beginning of June. But of course, we start this thing as we always do. We start with some games that we have been playing. Lucius, you are a man who likes to crush your games. You don't play your games. You don't defeat your games. You put them underfoot and you crush them. What have you crushed this week, sir?
Well, I'm actually going through a couple of games right now. One of them is I'm replaying through Cyberpunk 2077, but this time I'm doing it on the Switch too.
And by the way, we're gonna talk Switch too. We should talk Switch too, since at least two of us. I don't know, Logic. When I get to y'all, ask if you have a Switch as well, but two of us have Switches, so we're gonna talk a bit about the Switch as well. But yes, talk about your experience on the Switch, sir. How has that been for you? How like I know you've played it on the PC. How's the difference in experience?
Yeah, so whenever you're playing a big game like this on different hardware, you always have to take into consideration where you're playing it, right? And I've played Cyberpunk 20. Cyberpunk is like Skyrim to me. I've played it so often, and I own it on multiple places. I played Cyberpunk 2077 at launch on my Xbox Series X. I played it on a PC, and now playing it on the Switch 2. The Switch 2 surprisingly runs the game pretty well. I didn't even think that this game would be possible on the Switch 2, but seeing how well it's running gives me faith in what's possible for the future, right? Because whenever at the beginning of the launch, typically that's going to be the least powerful, or the least that that these developers will be able to take out of the hardware. As they learn more and things get better, and the tools, the developmental tools get better, all of that is going to allow them to be able to push out for more and greater graphics and better performance. So something like this being possible right now is incredible for me. I'm enjoying the portable play. I'm enjoying the mouse play. That's really cool. What I will say is Nintendo shouldn't have cheapened out and only stuck to HDMI 2.0. They should have went with HDMI 2.1, which would have allowed for VRR in docked mode. And 40 FPS on handheld feels great, but if you play the 40 FPS mode on your monitor, it doesn't matter if your monitor has like FreeSync Premium like mine does, because on the console side the technology isn't there. Even though I'm playing at 40 FPS, it feels a little janky on my screen. So it's actually it actually benefited me to go to quality mode at 30 FPS when in docked, because it just looks more consistent.
Can I ask what resolution are you playing at in docked?
So in docked mode, I'm pretty sure the performance mode drops it down to like 1080p, but then the quality mode I think is 1440p, at least up. That is the upper bounds of the quality mode.
Okay, and I do completely get what you're saying about wishing they'd stepped up to HDMI 2.1. But I do want to state or ask, right? We do know the Switch 2 does have ALLM in docked mode.
It does, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, yes, they didn't do the full Monty, but I don't know that everybody knows. I just want to point that out, that there are some, HDMI 2.1 spec is weird, right? Because there's the spec. It incorporates subordinate components that are not necessarily like inherently part of the 2.0 or the 2.1 spec, right? They're just things like you have to have all of these to be compliant, but you can have some of these and not be compliant, but the end result is the user still gets some of those features. So I thought that was pretty interesting when I hooked mine up and realized that it had ALLM.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that means all three of us have Switches on this panel, Switch 2s. Excellent. Awesome. All right, we'll talk a bit more about that. Go ahead, Lucius. And anything more you wish to discuss? Like, what's the comparison feeling about you of what do you call it? Cyberpunk on mobile versus, what do you lose or do you not lose anything? How do you feel about it?
I honestly don't think that you lose anything. You get the full Cyberpunk 2077 experience. My only small difficulty is because uh, the the Joy-Con thumbsticks are relatively shallow, and that can be difficult to use when playing a first-person game because you have to like constantly shift your perspective and move. uh, you have to like move around, and because of that, it is a little difficult sometimes, especially in a gunfight, which is why the mouse mode is actually really really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I will say, you genuinely do get a vast majority of the Cyberpunk 2077 experience on the Switch too, and that's pretty incredible. The only thing that you really miss out on is like large crowd sizes, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
But outside of that, outside of Cyberpunk, I have been playing Jump Ship, the demo for Jump Ship.
Okay.
This game is really fun. It's, how do I explain it? It's kind of like FTL, if you've ever played that, Faster Than Light. And in FTL, you have a ship that you're trying to keep up.
But this is like a 3D, like full-fledged big body game, right?
The 3D, I'm pretty sure it's Unreal Engine 5. It's a beautiful looking game. First person, like it. But when you think about FTL and think about like the general gameplay of that, and where you're flying a ship, you sometimes have to get into fights. Sometimes in those fights, you have to like repair your ship in the middle of the fight to make sure that things kind of don't go wrong. You have you can get on the ground and find resources to be able to bring back to your ship. You can run into enemies that you have to shoot down, and the gun mechanics are actually pretty good. Like there's when you're in space, you can freely flow through space and like use your jetpack.
This is basically like Star Trek, the simulator, right? Like you're just trying to keep your ship and your crew alive while bad guys are coming after you.
Yeah, but every single one of the mechanics are relatively basic, but there's a lot of them. So that's why I was mentioning FTL, and that's why I was also meant like you could also think of something like a Among Us, not in the one person is the bad guy sort of thing, but just the fact that you have little mini games that you sometimes have to interact with to be able to fix certain problems inside of the ship. So
for those watching the video, forgive the teabagging on the Saturday morning. I just grabbed footage. Not our footage.
But this is definitely like a fun game. It's not too complex, but you need to communicate with your team the entire time. To make sure that like nobody gets into any issues, and it's a nice little fun coordination thing for up to 4 players. I was playing with my buddy Kev last night in the Discord just to test it out, and yeah, it was very fun. So I suggest if you guys are looking for a game to play with the boys, this is a fun little game that requires a little bit of collaboration and interesting mechanics. So very, very much suggest this game as something that you should check out.
Very cool. Now, is this multiplayer focused? Like, is there a single player mode? Like, is it meant to be that you brain off and play with your buddies?
You can play this single player, but it's not suggested. I would not suggest because the amount of things that you have to do, it's just so much easier when somebody can be like, okay, we're in the middle of a gunfight and I've run out of ammo, and somebody on your team is like, I got you, goes, hits up the location where they have to like make new ammo. They make new ammo, they put it inside of the ship. Now you have ammo, right? If you didn't have another person, you'd have to stop flying the ship in the middle of a gunfight
and go get ammo yourself. I get it. Right? Okay. Yeah, it's very FTL in its way. Very cool. Yeah. That's cool. I like that. So this game will be made or broken by your team. So if you have a good team who's all there for it, you could get far in this game. That's cool. Excellent.
Yeah, and the game definitely doesn't throw you into the deep end very easily. It's like there is a story associated with everything that you're doing. So it starts you off with the tutorial, then it starts giving you relatively easy missions that you can, as long as you're coordinating with your team, they're relatively easy to kind of complete. And they get more and more difficult as you get closer and closer to your objective. And the way that I understand it is that each person has their own ship. So right now, outside of just the tutorial, me and a buddy are using my ship as the primary thing that we're doing. So whenever we're playing, he connects to me, and then my ship is going to slowly get better and better as we do a bunch of missions. If he wanted to complete it on his side, he would have to do those missions X, Y, and Z. But there is an additional currency or experience that he gets while playing with me. So even though his ship isn't getting better because he's not pulling the resources necessary to utilize them in that way, he as a player is getting better. So there's like a dual progression system that kind of works in that capacity.
Cool. Yeah. So even if you're not at the same level as somebody else, it still incentivizes you to keep playing. That's cool. That's nice. I like that. Very nice. Okay. Anything else you're playing, sir? Anything else you wanna let the folks know about?
I'm finishing up Ghost of Tsushima on PC. I've played it when it was on PS4, but didn't play it, when it came to PS5 and the DLC. And I was able to get a good price on it on PC, so I'm trying to finish through that right now as well.
Okay, very cool. How about you, sir? Game Logic, what do you think? What games are keeping you busy this week, sir?
Nothing much. I'm continuing to play Black Ops 6 on PC, and I've been playing Doom: The Dark Ages on PC as well, and Fast Fusion on the Nintendo Switch 2.
Fast Fusion. Let's talk about Fast Fusion. Like it being a newer game on the PlayStation, on the Switch 2. Like, why did you choose Fast Fusion? Like, because I ask because I'm a little self-serving. I'm deciding on what other games besides Mario Kart World that I want to play, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Boomstick also recommended that I play Fast Fusion. Why did you choose Fast Fusion?
So Fast Fusion is new to the Switch 2 because everything's new to the Switch 2, but it's not.
It's been out for a while, right?
Yeah, but the franchise isn't new. Fast RMX was on the original Nintendo Switch. I think all you guys know I'm a big, flight sim, vehicle sim, space sim, driving sim gamer. So anything that's kind of in that vector is something that always catches my interest. I've always had a huge love for, whatever you want to call it, like light vehicle racing, anti-grav vehicle racing, that type of stuff. I always mess the name of this thing up. I think it's called Redshift on PC. I grabbed, the Wipeout collection when it was on PS4 or whatever. And this is one that I've enjoyed very much as well on the Nintendo Switch, both in handheld and docked mode. So when I found out that it was coming to the Switch 2, I was very excited. It's only $15 on the eShop, which is super impressive as well. There aren't leaps and bounds of this game beyond what it was in Fast RMX. Some of the graphical touches are nice. It's a significant change from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2 for it to be able to support multi-resolution support. And quite honestly, I know everybody gets super focused on 4K, but whenever I have the option to play at 1440p, I always take that option. And when I play, my console's in performance mode, I always, force them to 1440p as much as I can. So that's been nice. The visual clarity in this is significantly greater. I enjoyed Fast RMX, but I'm an older gamer, so like there were many times that I was just looking at like a blur and I couldn't tell. I was just driving on instinct. I couldn't tell what the heck was coming up or what I was doing. But Fast Fusion, the visual clarity and the image quality is significantly greater. So the campaign setup is pretty much the same. There is a mechanic in this called the fusion mechanic where you can go into kind of like the garage, I'll call it, and merge vehicles. I'm not sure exactly what the result of that is. That's kind of one of those new things that kind of popped up on my radar that I was like, well, I came to this game because I enjoyed the way the last one was, so I'm going to play through the first chunk of it kind of as a purist, and then I'll get around to messing with the fusion aspect later. What I suspect is, like I said, it takes the body of one vehicle and does some intermixing of the characteristics of another. But we'll get into that probably a little bit later as I play through more. So I've played through the first tier of the campaign. I think there's subsonic, supersonic, and then some other sonic. It's 3 tiers. One mechanic that I'm not a huge fan of this time around is there's in-game currency, which is a neat, aspect to add as far as upgrading your vehicles. Before they were just unlockables. So you use currency, and then you have some provenance over, what vehicles you upgrade to when. But they also make you use that in-game currency to unlock the tiers of the campaign and the tracks within the campaign, which I'm not a super huge fan of. Although I may warm up to that later. That does make you kind of make some choices between, am I going to upgrade a vehicle, or am I going to unlock a vehicle first, or am I going to unlock a track? If I'm going to unlock a vehicle, that may mean that I need to rerun some tracks in order to gain enough currency to get into the next tier. So, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this. I just remembered last night how to do the jumpstart boost from start by like, you have to time it and hit the boost like just as the light goes green. And the high risk, high reward is that if you screw that up, then your vehicle just completely stalls out, right? And everybody zooms off ahead of you. Probably the most significant thing that I'll add here at the end is, as I'm playing this iteration of this series now, I've very quickly realized that as you get deeper into the campaign, it becomes much less about your technical skill on the tracks. There is some, muscle memory you have to learn, and memorization you have to learn of these tracks. When you go to a new track, it's always a system shock because you just don't know what's coming up, and you can see how fast you're moving and the blur that you have to contend with. But what's becoming super interesting is it's really a matter. I mean, you really have to shave milliseconds, right, to really come out on top in these races, and it becomes much, much more so about your willingness to take the high risk paths to shave those milliseconds in some cases than it becomes about your technical skill. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it right now. So it's a nice get on the Switch 2, in my opinion.
Excellent. All right. Well, I will add this to the list because I've been trying to. I honestly, and this is the part where I discuss my pay-pig activity. I've come across a bunch of physical devices, hardware devices, so I've been like getting into it. But oddly enough, it's right during Switch 2 season, so we got that as well. So it's been like, hey, what games would best be playable on the Switch 2? I've been playing Mario Kart World as well. Really getting into Mario Kart World. Any other games that you're playing on the Switch 2 you want to discuss?
I unfortunately haven't played a lot. Like last week was all about content creation and and showcase coverage. I did pick up the Bravely Default remaster. I forget what the subtitle for that is, but that's a game I played on the 3DS and I was a huge fan of, and it really kind of enamored me or got me into Nintendo JRPGs, just because I did not grow up as a Nintendo fan as a lot of people. My first Nintendo product that I ever owned was the Wii, and I fell off for the Wii U, and then I came back for the Switch. So yes, I picked up Bravely Default, and other than that, I've just reinstalled all my old stuff. I have not had a chance, although I'm very interested because I am a subscriber to Nintendo Switch Online. I have not pulled down Breath of the Wild to get my free but not free upgrade.
Yeah, I did that. I played that a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting. So initially I just hit the play button and just started playing it, right? And yeah, you see the anti-aliasing and definitely you feel the 30 frames. Once you pull that patch down, there's still aliasing, but definitely 60. You feel that it upgrades to 60 frames. It's far smoother. You can definitely tell that the hardware has a lot more to deliver for you. So I do like that. I just wish that it was more games and not just a few of them that are getting these patches. Some of them are benefiting inherently from dynamic scaling, so that's good. But a lot of them are static, and they need people to go in and basically undo the static nature of it to turn it into 60. But it's been good. It's been good. I have been. My problem with Switch is more that I want more to play and to show it more off, rather than my play sessions have been disappointing, for example. Right. So I do like it. I think it came out well. Let's see. So I guess let's talk a bit more about Switch, about Mario Kart. I will play footage. If the ninjas come for me, they will, and that will be what it is. It's not my footage, but it is footage online. I will post the original poster of it as well. But this is Mario Kart World footage that you can see. Apologies if the footage is a little bit choppy. I'm being told that my footage is choppy. It is what it is. Forgive me. Where is it? Oh yeah, there you go. Shout out to MJ Dark with a 60-month membership. He says, not sure what's worse, Asante playing games or the bitrate on screen. Sir, you got to stop slander. It is what it is. I apologize. This is the problem with StreamYard. We're recorded. The footage is great for us, unfortunately, but as it doesn't translate so well. But appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for being here, and stop the slander. It is what it is. Let me catch up on a couple some more super chats, and then we'll get back to Mario. Let's see here. We have the Great Black Viking in the house with a $5 super chat. He says, I just wanted to let everyone know, join the GCP Discord. I will co-sign that call to action. Please join the GCP Discord. These days, if you love the show, the Discord's even crazier than the show these days. Like, we have a lot of people joining us at all matters of time, coming online, like jumping in the chat, and we're just having great discussions, gaming and otherwise. So
I will say, wipe your feet before you come in the house, and those who know, you know.
Yes, sir. And the reason why Lucius feels the need to add that into it is because he is the master in our Discord. He has been empowered to be the master in our Discord. So if you don't wipe your feet when you come into our house in the Discord, he will make sure you end up in the shadow realm and no one will see or hear from you again. So yes, please be respectful. But otherwise, join the Discord. Such great conversations and great people in that Discord. So shout out to everybody who tends to frequent our Discord streets on a daily. Thank you guys so much. You keep our community running. So we appreciate y'all. The legendary Yobi is here with a $20 super chat. He says, hashtag peace, love, life, gentlemen, and chat. Keep up the fantastic work as always. Thank you for always pushing the conversation forward with authenticity, integrity, intelligence, and intensity. Thank you for existing with love, Yobi. Bro, you're gonna make a black man brush. This is beautiful, man. Thank you so much. This is great. We do this because we love it, and your accolades keep pushing us to go further. So we appreciate you for being here and for the kind words. Thank you guys so much. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. He says, now why can't Everborn be here today to take his well-deserved bow for making MS give him a box that gives him a console experience? Right? Isn't that interesting? Just when Christopher Columbus can earn his victory lap, he's somewhere else trying to put his mark on something else. What are you gonna do? But no, he'll be here next week. And by the way, JD, join the Discord. We've been taking victory laps all week about this whole situation. So yes, we appreciate you being here, JD. Thank you so much. Rave Damos, who's been a member for 15 months, he says, happy Saturday morning, folks. Hit the like button. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. We see a bunch of folks here watching on all the various platforms. On YouTube alone, I think I see 118 folks right now currently watching. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Consider being a subscriber and a member if you want to. We do this show every week. We put on a good show, and we appreciate the community for continuing to support us. Thank you guys so much. Slow-mo backslap, trying to continue the slander with a $5 super chat. He says, K Asante plays games with his toes. Oh, it just looks like he does. Sir, this is not my gameplay. So what are you talking about? None of this is my gameplay. So you're just looking for a reason to slander. None of this is footage from me. Stop it. But appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. Our Discord is known as the Intellectual Octagon. If
Oh, yeah.
you are
Oh, yeah.
here to give somebody smoke, just recognize that smoke will be given back to you in a respectful manner, right? We like to have these discussions. We like to go the back and forth, but just know that if you jump into the Discord, we're about that type of energy, right? So, but also don't take it seriously. We're only there for fun discussions to talk about gaming, to talk about the industry, that sort of stuff. We even get into even more serious topics, but the discussions are supposed to be intellectual activities, not something where you go after somebody. So just know that if you ever feel as if somebody's coming at you at the Discord, it's never in a way of disrespect. At least it shouldn't be. And if you do feel disrespected, please talk to us.
Absolutely. What he said. And now you see why we have empowered him to be the master in our Discord. The man is about that life, and he keeps them streets nice and worry free. We'll call it. So yes, shout out to you, Lucius. Thank you so much for continuing to keep the boot on neck in that Discord. Keep people honest. Keep people righteous. Right. Oh my goodness. Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap is here with a $2 super chat. He says Expedition 33 is game of the generation. Sir, I gotta say I agree. I don't know, man. Like, see, I called game of the generation something like Cyberpunk. I call it something like Witcher 3 in the Xbox One gen. Notice I keep giving this to CDPR, but I will give them the flowers due to them. I did beat Expedition 33 over the weekend, by the way. I finally beat it. I'm still going back to clean up certain things. So I haven't played through all the backstories, but I'm going back and cleaning things up now. But I wouldn't say I disagree with that notion because of all the like high praise, both on this show and in our Discord and all the various places I've heard it. I wouldn't disagree that Expedition 33 has reached that level for people. Yeah, I think.
And I've sat on this for a long time. I've beaten the game like probably over a month ago or something. And I didn't want to say this immediately because it probably would sound like recency bias and just
hyperbole
the game. But I think that Expedition 33 might be in my top 10 games of all time.
Wow. Okay. Jeebus. All right. That's some high praise. Jeez. Okay. So you're saying this is a game that you're going to end up possibly going back and playing through almost every generation. Just every once in a while, you got to play it again.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those games because it did so many elements so well. And is just an example of great scope inside of a video game. The story is written so well. The combat is really fun. Almost every single thing in the game feeds back into the story and the elements of that game. Like almost no time is wasted. And like the only activity I find to be completely disconnected from everything else is like the gestural
platforming missions.
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say it.
That is the only thing that doesn't feed
the same way
back in.
Yep.
And honestly, as difficult as those sections were, I enjoyed them for what they were. But like, there's too often in video games do you have a situation where there are many elements inside of the game that have no purpose for the game or what the player should be doing, the story, any of that. This is just a great example of like almost 90% of everything that was in front of me mattered.
Yep. That what you're describing there, that's the ludonarrative dissonance. The hey, go save the world, but how about you go get me some groceries first? That kind of thing. There's none of that. They keep it tight, which is good. I appreciate that. But no, I agree, Brap. I would say Expedition has definitely earned their place, especially the small team and the ideas on display. Absolutely, no, absolutely no retort on that one. I think he's right. And then of course the great Soil Tech, who also was in the house with us on the at the fan event. He's here with a $2 super chat, and he says, "Please hit the like button and subscribe." I agree, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for continuing to be a great member of our community. Soiltech also very much empowered in our community. By the way, Soiltech, you are now a mod in our community. So please go ahead, and on this show as well. So if y'all not being nice and y'all not being fair, Solotech now is empowered to ban you to the shadow realm. Thank you for continuing to be with us and continue to keep these streets as safe as they are. But yeah, let's get back to it. Real quick, I know we've all played, because we are all Switch 2 owners here. I would assume we're also Switch 2 bundle owners, because I'm sorry, if you're not a bundle owner, you did it the wrong way. Buy it with in the bundle, but rather with Mario Kart World. I just want to spend a little bit of time and just talk about what we think of the game. Go ahead. I know you wanted to get in Game Logic.
Yeah, I won't have any commentary. I'm not a bundle owner, and I have not bought.
You are not?
No.
Wow, that is surprising. Okay, to talk about that for a little bit. Why did you just think that, you know what, I'm not going to play Mario Kart World, so I'm just not going to buy that bundle?
I don't know that it was. So it wasn't deliberate at its outset. My acquisition of the Switch 2 was very opportunistic. Okay. I had actually gone to GameStop for a different purpose. I was trying to buy something through the app, and it kept not giving me the option to pick it up in store. So I was like, what the hell is going on? So I was like, fine, I'll just go down there. So I go down there, and this is the night before the midnight launch. And so there's a line. I'm like, why is there, like, the launch isn't until midnight? Why is there a line? Well, my GameStop, and probably others did too, had decided they were going to allow people to come in and pay for it before the midnight launch, because they had units, and that you could pick it up at midnight launch as if you had done a pre-order. So therefore, they weren't allowing anyone in the store, regardless of whether or not you were trying to prepay for a Switch 2 or whatever. So I went out to my car. I bought the thing I was actually trying to buy at Target. Target wasn't going to have it ready. I was driving out of the lot, and as I went out of the lot, like the line that had been there was like 50% gone. I was like, holy crap, that line's moving like 3 times faster than I thought it was. It's like hemming and hawing, and I was like, fine, I'll get in line. So I got in line, and I prepaid for the Switch 2 and came back and got it at midnight launch. But by the time I got mine, they did not have any more bundles. I was like, fine, I'll just buy the base unit.
Understood.
I mean,
it wasn't a choice you made. It was something that you had no choice but to pick what you had, what was available.
Ish.
You could have waited. True.
Mario Kart is its big thing if it is like family game night or you're playing online. If I get any type of Switch for my kids, I'm not doing that for several months. So there was no imperative for me to pick up Mario Kart.
Sure.
I don't find it wasn't really that great of a single player experience when I had 8 on the Switch. So I was like, it's something I'll get later, and I wasn't wrapped around the axle about getting the bundle.
Understood. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Lucius and I have had a very interesting conversation in our Discord, which we'll touch on a little bit here as well. But before we get there, I will first and foremost just say, in a vacuum, right? If you've played Mario Kart, you know what it is, and chances are you've played Mario Kart because everybody and their mama played Mario Kart at this point. Mario Kart 8 specifically, great game, love it. Like it is a thing that me and my family are into. My children and I, like I even like I have a wheel with paddles and everything else, and I use it to play Forza, but of course on the Switch. Well, and that's another bit of slander I'll get to in a second. On the Switch, historically, it has worked on Mario Kart as well. It's a universal flight, universal, not flight stick, but a wheel that will work on Switch, works on PlayStation, works on Xbox. So I'm able to play Switch 1 games that are compatible with it. My daughter uses it to play, and she's like expert level now. She's really, really good, both with a controller, with a Joy-Con, and with the wheel. So I've been having a great time with it. So like this was in my wheelhouse. But the question, the reason I bring this up is because when we had this conversation, this was one of the first games that are being released with the new premium price of $80, right? And with that comes the question of, why is it worth $80, right? Yes, they said it is now open world, and in having now played it, I see what they were doing there. They really, really like thought things through. I think it's benefited a lot from its predecessors like Forza Horizon, and I'll even say, what do you call it? What's the one that Ubisoft made? That's also very much like this, where it's very open world. You can take your car and it turns into multiple different cars, like The Crew. It has a lot of The Crew energy as well. And of course it's all tied in with that fun, whimsical Nintendo Mario-ness. So it's really, really good. Like it's beautiful and fun, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. But again, we go back to is this $80 worth, right? Because it is a new benchmark you're setting as a vendor, right? You're coming out asking people to pay a new premium price, not the standard at that time premium price of $70, right? Which would have been eyebrow raising itself, but you're asking for 80, and we contended that it wasn't worth that $80 price. Having played it, I still love it. I still think it's not worth that $80 price. Lucius, I'll let you get in, but I'll also say a bit of slander for the Switch 2, just in general. It seems like some of their hardware, some of the accessories are different now. So my universal wheel that works on the Switch 1 with Mario Kart 8 doesn't work on Switch 2. Plug it in, does not detect it, right? Even though it detects PS5, detects PS4, detects Xbox One, detects the series consoles, it detects PC. It is a universal wheel, but specifically Switch 2, not plug it in, not detected. Very, very odd. Anyway, Lucius, what are your thoughts, man?
I think that there should be some firmware updates either on Nintendo side or on the manufacturer side to make that work. But I will say it is weird that on the Switch 2, I have my Switch 1 Pro controller, and that works on the Switch 2, but it doesn't wake up the Switch 2 from sleep. So I have to press the button on the Switch 2, and then I have
then you can use your Pro Controller 1 on Switch. That's very strange.
Yeah. It's very strange. Obviously, I think that that's an incentive for you to buy the Switch 2 Pro Controller, but considering that the triggers on that are
garbage,
are digital
garbage.
I'm not going to call them garbage. I'm just going to say digital triggers, and because of that, you don't get the intricate kind of I'm just halfway, and so because of that, my foot's only halfway through the gas, sort of thing. That is a little disappointing, but hey, we'll figure it out.
Hey man, I call it garbage, and maybe Game Logic will agree with me. As a guy who plays a bunch of these like racers, I love like analog triggers. Why the heck would you not do that, even on a Pro Controller? That's so strange to me. I don't know.
Yeah, especially like you would think, since I think the Pro Controller is like $90 or $100
more expensive than almost any other standard controller. Yes.
So you're just like, okay, like this controller is just like a normal controller. It doesn't really have anything too crazy about it, and it only has digital triggers, and it's like $100. Like what's going on? Like
nuts.
That's all I have smoke for Nintendo on the hardware side. I think that hardware wise, actually, I will say, I won't say the joke that I said inside of the Discord, but I do think that that the Switch 2 could benefit from being just a little bit thicker. It's very thin, and that makes it kind of difficult when it comes to like holding it for a long time. I find that
ergonomics aren't great.
Thing I was doing with the Switch 1. Now I have bought like a grip case thing for it from Genki that will be here soon, and hopefully that'll help. But yeah, I think that's the hard as a piece of hardware. The Switch 2 is really, really nice. It's great screen, really big screen. I really enjoy playing it. But yeah, I will say regarding Mario Kart World, fun game. I just don't know if it's worth, establishing a new premium price point. Personally,
I agree, sir. I agree wholeheartedly. I agree. But yes, I also agree with your assertion about the hardware itself. It's great hardware. It is far better than Switch 1 hardware. Like it feels premium in the hand. It's excellent hardware, right? But I also agree that the premium price point they're asking for is a little much these days. But we shall see. Hopefully, more games come out that really make use of that thing and justify its premium price point. But okay. Besides Mario Kart World that I've been playing that I have enjoyed, I will also talk about some other games we're playing. So the NextFest is upon us. The Steam NextFest is upon us, and with that comes a bunch of games, right? And I've been playing a bunch of those games, and you see this week I'm not on camera. That is because this has been a kind of a trying week for me. So I barely rolled in here to be able to do this podcast. So I was like, nope, today's a no cam day. But I actually use that to make to try a different idea, something interesting and unique that I want to see if we can potentially implement, and that is maybe showing you guys some different stuff, because we're going to be talking about the Xbox Ally, or the ROG Xbox Ally, and what that looks like and what that may bring about and all of that. And as y'all know, of course, I have handhelds. I tend to have a bunch of different handhelds myself. So maybe we'll do some show and tell and use that to help us. But that also allows me to show you guys stuff like this. So here's my camera. I'll turn the cam on, but it won't show me. It'll show my screen. What you are looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is the screen, and I will touch the screen here. You're looking at my desktop of my this is the MSI Claw. So when Microsoft announced this whole Xbox thing, the Ally, I was like, that looks super interesting, because it has a very a similar look, at least from the UI UX that they showed off, to what is currently being shown off inside the MSI Claw. So the MSI Claw AI is a device that has similar features, and I happen to have one, so I will show what it looks like. And quickly, this is what it looks like. That's the MSI Claw AI. That's literally the one that I have, and what you're seeing from me in there is the screen. So let's get into this real quick. Let me see if I can.
Is that the newer one with the AMD chipset?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is the no. I'm sorry. This is the second newer one. There are three. There's the first one, which had the Intel chipset, which was not great. Then there was the second one, which had an Intel chipset, which was awesome, but you can't find it. And now there's a third one, which is the AMD chipset. Okay. I did not get the AMD chipset. I got the second tier that has the Intel chipset that actually beats the HX 730.
Oh, wow. So this one is that is an Arrow Lake S chipset.
It is. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And it does for the speeds and feeds among us. It does XCSS hardware accelerated and all of that. Like, it's one of the few that can do so besides graphics cards. So I figured I had a bunch of Intel, a bunch of AMD devices. Let me try this Intel one. And short of some issues at the beginning of it, and there were some issues in the beginning of it, but yes, it is pretty awesome. I really enjoy it, and I want to talk about this under the games I've been playing, because not only can I show you how it works, as you guys can see, and we'll get into why I'm showing all this, because I have a feeling that this is similar to what the Xbox one will look like. But what you're seeing here is the UI. I hit a button and the UI pops up, and it goes straight to what they're calling the MSI Quick Launch, and this is their quick launch bar. You see me moving my controller. But what I want to talk about real quick is one of the games I've been playing on the NextFest, and that game is called Morbid Metal. Now, it'll take a minute for my screen to populate here. It's called Morbid Metal, and I will try and play this while we talk, but man, oh man, you should go and play this yourself. It's on the NextFest. It is one of the coolest games I've gotten a chance to play. Now, this will be a terrible experience because I'm talking to you while I'm literally playing this game myself, but I just have to show you. And
I'll ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the bad gameplay.
Yeah. Get the smoke ready for the bad gameplay. I just had to show you the locomotion of it. I'll show you a trailer of it after, but this game is so cool. Yes, sir.
You know what? Did this show up at one of the showcases, and do you know which one, or was this just something that you got?
No, this is straight up NextFest. This is straight up the Steam NextFest, and this is one of many games that I will be actually talking about, because there are some excellent NextFest games out there. But it is like the way, and yes, my gameplay is usually bad, but it's going to be extra worse because I'm actually trying to pay attention right now while I'm doing this. But yes, like this, I think this, from what I saw, this is being published by Ubisoft, but it's like the locomotion and the fighting and the gameplay of it is super, like excellent. Like you can't put this game down. Like it's a demo. It's just straight up a demo, and I started playing it 2 days ago, and I have not been playing any other things because this demo is just better than all the others that I've even like full games. After I beat Expedition 33, I haven't been able to put this game down. So yes, as you can see, like it's very much empowering you with a bunch of tools, right? The best way I can describe it is like this is probably the closest to what do you call it? Phantom Blade Zero that I've played. Like it is very close to Phantom Blade Zero in that like the weapons are very hard hitting, the enemies are tough, but like at the end of the day, they give you all the tools you need to accomplish the task at hand. And like as soon as I started playing this game, I was like, oh man, this is something else. Now, this is a demo, obviously, so you don't get all the tools. But what they did unlock is the fact that not only can you play with this this play style, which is, as you can see, it's fast and really sneaky, right? But you also have different styles, so you can play the big guy, and now you're like very like hardcore. You're using different weapons. Like it is such an awesome premise, awesome idea. I can't wait for this game to come out in full. But yes, I had to like just drop this real quick and show people like this game is something else and people should want to play it. Check this out. Ready? Watch this. And I'm ready. Like it is like it's got all of the cool stuff, the finishers, everything to like just like total power fantasy. This game, it's pretty excellent. But anyway, I will stop playing it because otherwise I'll just keep playing. I need to stop playing this game anyway. But yes, what I'll do is I'll also, like, while I'm here, I'll show you that not only Morbid Metal, but there are other games that I think that people should be playing as well. Other games that I think that would be exciting, and I think this actually dovetails into the conversation that I really want to have, which is, you know, this Xbox ally, if you will. I've heard questions on them socials talking about, hey, you know, what is this for? Why is this necessary? This and that and the third. Like, just one small example is this, right? Every year there's the NextFest, and what you're seeing right now is all the demos that I have been playing, like excellent demos. Let me try this game right here. Let me show y'all this game. Like, oh my God, like people were losing their mind when I started playing this in the Discord. It is insanely cool looking. But these are games you'll be able to get your hands on just as a demo when you have a device that's able to play on Xbox games, as well as Steam, as well as all these other games that other stores rather that you have your hands on. So I've been talking for a while. Lucius, I know you've been also playing some of these demos. What have you played? Have you played anything you want the people to know about? And while you do that, I'll continue some of this bad gameplay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Jump Ship demo is a part of the Steam NextFest. So that of those, I would say definitely check that out. Also check out the Dispatch demo. Dispatch is the game where you're essentially working in a superhero call center. Very fun game, very fun demo. I can't wait for the game to come out. I'm a day one for that one.
Big voice talent on that game.
Yeah,
as
fantastic.
Well. Jennifer English, I think, is Ben Starr in that one too, or Troy Baker.
It might be
Troy.
But I will say one of the great thing that these indies, like being a part of like an Annapurna or something, those studios, a lot of the times they will have access to big actors, and sometimes they'll only play small roles, sometimes they'll play larger roles. But I do find it very interesting that you're getting kind of bigger talent inside of these smaller games as like a real appeal to them. That's really nice. But I will say, okay, how did you get the overlay to properly show on?
Yeah. You see what I did there, right? Yes, it's that is a mission. That is a mission that and of course you see my bad gameplay. There you go. It is a mission that I've been trying to accomplish for a long time, and I finally figured it out. Yes, you can't do this when you just show standard gameplay. It has to come from a capture card. So I'm literally using the capture card that I normally use for my see, I can't do this while I'm talking. Never mind. I'm using the camera that I usually use for my capture. Instead of doing that, I'm using it to capture this footage instead. So inside capture cards, it is then able to show you overlays. So that's why when I do this, you're able to see it now. Before you couldn't see that, right? So now you can see that. So there's that. Yes, but yes, that's how I'm able to do it. But yes, you guys should, as you're seeing, I guess what could you describe that one as? That's Bukai is Baki rather.
Baki
is basically what what do you call it? Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
The Punch Out. Yeah, the Mike Tyson's Punch Out is definitely. And there's also that Muppet game that also had similar mechanics to Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Punch Out. Yes, absolutely, yes. And I'll play a little bit of Neon Inferno as well. Which shout out to the Great Everborn Saga who's in the chat. He was able to interview the dev on Neon Inferno. It is actually available also on NextFest right now. Y'all can like go and try it out yourselves. But this is what we're talking about here, right? When you have a handheld that has access to console stuff and also to PC stuff and also to all the various stores, now this is not something I show you and you guys go, ooh, I would love to play that. You can go download this thing your damn self right now and enjoy yourself and have a good time playing it as well. So as you can see, this is Neon Inferno. Like it's very much the very much 80s 90s energy being invoked here. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a reflection system that you can do in this game as well. Like very, very cool games. I should actually I wanted to have the dev on that come and talk about this game a bit more. So hopefully we can get that together. But yes, more games that should be played by more people before you even get a chance to decide whether or not you want to play this game. There are demos available. And this is one of those as well. But anyway, so let's talk a bit more about this Xbox thing, because I think it's time to head in that direction. But before I do, let me catch up on a couple of these super chats that have come in while we were having this quick discussion. The great BT Maverick 707, BT Maverick, who we met live IRL because he came to the fan event. So shout out to you, BT Maverick. It was awesome connecting with you. He's here with a $20 super chat. He says, had a blast last weekend breaking bread at Fan Fest with you guys and quite literally running into you guys on the street. Yeah. I'm like, hey, that's Hargeet, K, Iron Lords, Meat Nerds, Soil, and Lucius. Surreal moment. You guys are awesome. So are you, sir. You've been a great member of our community for a long time. And the man pulled up. He was there. He came up. He said, "What's up?" He hung out with us. It was awesome. It was really cool to connect with you. So thank you for showing up and being here. Face 23 BKNY with a $20 super chat. He says, people talk about it as if it is revolutionary in its features, but the fact is that all the things that it can do can be done in the Ally, and that is out for years, and every other Windows handheld like Lenovo, etc. So BK, and let me finish his super chats. He finishes that with a $2 super chat, and he says Microsoft is moving its its Xbox fans rather to PC. Okay, so BKNY, first off, shout out to you. Thank you for your support. Always so prolific in your support. Thank you. I don't disagree with you, but it's not necessarily that simple. Right, because like I was saying, and that is exactly the reason why I actually brought up this, why I decided to show my footage here, and why I wanted to bring this as my camera instead of showing the camera, because there are, to your point, there are many features currently that are available that these handhelds can provide you. Right, what they showed you there is nothing new. What you're actually looking at right now is what you would be looking at if you bought a Steam Deck. This is like Steam Deck UI, if you will, right? And this is how it looks. This is how it functions. You go into your library and you can do all that. Right?
But I mean, is it just
go ahead.
Just to make sure I understand? But what you're showing now isn't what you're showing now. Steam Big Picture mode on.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm showing now. Yeah,
current Windows handheld devices. You can render this.
Do this as well.
Yes. The ROG Xbox will have a UI improvement, right? That will integrate it all and bring it all into one pane of glass.
I was getting there. Yes. So this is what you see right now, because this is a Windows desktop, right? A Windows desktop can do all those things, and so can that Ally. It can do this as well. You can literally buy this device, log into this thing, go into big picture mode, and never deal with anything ever again, and just be done. You can totally do that, right? But you don't have to. This is my desktop, right? This, and I will show you what it looks like. This is what it will look like when Microsoft does theirs, right? This is purported to be their UI, right? But unlike the others, this will literally load into this when you boot it up, and it won't be on top of the desktop. It will be behind the desktop.
No, it will be there instead of the desktop.
Yes, it won't be available, right? So So basically, and I guess I should have done it manually on here as well. I can do it manually as well. You can remove the desktop shell to the point where the desktop does not load, and in so doing, it doesn't load any of the desktop services and features and all of that as well, right? So as it looks like right now, right, in that device that's going to come up, this is what it will look like. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because we about that life, and Everborn Saga, of course, you know, the man couldn't stay away. So, ladies and gentlemen, the father himself. What's going on, Everborn? How you doing? Welcome.
What's happening? I don't know if you guys can hear me.
We hear you. We hear you. What are you in the mountains somewhere right now?
I'm in the Hamptons somewhere.
There you go.
But,
there you go.
I don't have long, but I know you guys were talking about this, and I saw some rabble rousing in the chat. So please continue. I'll
indeed. Yes. So what you're looking at right now?
Yeah, before you continue, I just want to ask. Yes. So do you have this because this is on like the Windows whatever ring that they're calling it now for?
No. Let's be absolutely 100% clear what you guys are watching here. This is what you can get today on any Windows handheld that's available.
Let's be very
available on any Windows handheld right now.
Be very clear.
This is not special code.
Let's be very clear.
This
what
is
you're seeing right now is just the Xbox.
Yes, it's just the Xbox app.
Okay, so this is sans the future integration that's coming.
Yes, this is without any of the integrations. This is on every device right now. You can get it. The only thing is
very clear. If you've ever used a Windows handheld before, you know how bad that experience can be. And part of that is because there's a lack of connectiveness to a lot of the services that you're going to be using. A lot of things for a long time did not work on a controller. Like the Xbox store barely had any controller support. It was very difficult to navigate.
You've seen Everborn Saga on this show talk about the craziness of the controller support and show how badly it was integrated. What you're looking at right now is, well, no, it's actually working. This is me. Every time you see the dots, this is me controlling with a controller. It is now usable.
As somebody who uses it, it's still not perfect because there's a difference between, fixing it, getting it. It's still not perfect, especially when you go up to like the, let's go to the search bar. If you bring your cursor all the way up to the search bar, what it won't do, considering that you're using it'll just be like, oh, it actually works this time.
So again, it's working. Like I said,
I've done this I did this
I know, and I'm telling you, it's working. Here we are. So let me tell you, it's working because it is.
The amount of changes are coming in fast and furious because literally as of like last week or 2 weeks ago, when I went up to that thing, it didn't work.
Okay. So if I may, just really quick, Kay. One thing you have to understand is if you can look at the top of your screen, you are in the insider build.
Right? I was trying to
maybe running some code that the public isn't running. Not the this is a public insider.
This is public available code, but it is insider ring code. Yes, this is not what comes with the hardware writ large when you buy it day one and that's it. Okay. Yes, it is. But let me finish, please. You keep interjecting. Let me finish, please. Once you have this hardware, you will get what I'm looking at right now. But you won't get as many of the updates because you have to join that Insider Hub. Once you join the Insider Hub, now anytime there are new features, they will make those features available to you as well. I'm part of the Delta ring, not the Alpha ring. So it's almost final code, not exactly. The Alpha ring, you get very fresh stuff, but that also it tends to be far more broken. This is exactly like getting close to release candidate stuff, right? So anyone who has an Ally X, anyone that has anything Windows related, you can join that Insider Hub, and then you too can have access to it. Now, what will that give you? To what Everborn was saying, and to what Lucius was saying, as you see, the controller support is far better now. And even that comes with a keyboard that is also now supported by a controller. That wasn't the case before, right? Yeah. So the controller, it's all now working as it should. If you see the top right-hand corner, you see there's notation for my battery life, my Wi-Fi, and the time. all things that have been added recently to the mix, right? And of course, you can go into your library, see games you've installed, this, that, and the third. In addition to this, there's also the bar, which this bar is not how it really looks. This is their new version of the bar. This is how the bar originally looked. If I can show you guys that. Oh, actually, it may not do that because it's meant for compact mode. Yeah, so check it out. So yeah, this is the bar. See, this is how it really looks when you get it on your PC at home. This is what it looks like: a hodgepodge of craziness inside your desktop because it's meant for keyboard mouse. But because they know that a lot of people are now trying to use this thing with handhelds, they are now saying, okay, we're going to make this thing far more user friendly when it comes to keyboard, when it comes to using it with a handheld device. So here's the game bar, right? These are all the upgrades that have been made, right? So I guess all that we're saying here, right, and the point that we're making here is, yes, a lot of these features are available on these devices today, right? And when I saw them showing what they were doing and they showed the quick launch bar, I was like, oh, they stole that from the MSI Claw because the MSI Claw already has that here, right? That's what the other one, the new one will have, but that will have Armory Crate. But the idea, the concept, the design language is already here on the Claw. What you are paying for is much better hardware, no doubt, right? Much better hardware. The Z1 Extreme to Z2 Extreme, the uplift in performance is there, no doubt. It is actually very performant. About 20 to 30% depending on the workload.
Hey, TK, sorry. While you're talking, can you go back to that diagnostic you've gone over a couple times? I'm just trying to get is that a
game bar?
Oh, the game bar.
And is that an MSI Claw thing, or is that an?
Yeah, this right here is specifically for the Claw. Like what we're looking at in here
to the right. Sorry.
The one. This one.
Performance.
More where the graph was. Yeah.
Oh, performance. Okay, so this is all standard. This is standard for every Windows device. This comes with every Windows device.
Okay, so that's Perfmon in the Xbox app.
Yes. So let me show you how that works. This is actually pretty useful. We should have been doing this a long time ago. This is quite useful for people to understand. So what I'm doing here is, much like you can in the Xbox app, you can customize how all of this is laid out. The only one that you really should have laid out there day one is the quick launch, because that's where you have your TDP controls and your
control panel and big picture.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. Now, the one next to it is one game launcher. It's a game launcher that somebody made that put on the App Store. You can buy it or you can use the free version. I find it's the easiest way to get my games launching. I suspect that when the new UI comes out, I won't need this anymore, right? But right now, what this does is it aggregates all of my content. So as you can see, right, here's all of it, but here's the one specifically for Steam. Here's the one specifically for Xbox. Here's the one specifically for GOG. Right, but it aggregates all of them together in one, right? And I can custom do lots of different things as well. But you can actually go into the widget store here, into what you have downloaded, and you can decide what comes after what. So I can say, okay, now I want my Xbox achievements next to that one, and I want the other one next to the other one. And you could basically set up your own custom resources and everything, how you want it to be. So every time you're playing a game, you could just pop it up, and it's right there, how you want it to be, right? That's the setting, how they did it. Go ahead.
The biggest difference between what we are seeing right now and what you will get with the Xbox Ally is what you're seeing right now required work. It required tweaking and twerking. It required looking.
No. That's not true. What do you mean? You just said. But you have to You have to let me finish. This does not require work. When you buy this day one, you can pop up the Xbox app and it will pop up just like this. You can pop up the game bar and it may not have the quick launch menu there, but actually no, if you buy the Claw, it already has it there. All of this is there already. This is not work. I didn't do any work for this. This actually exists today. The only difference between what you will get maybe and what I have here is that mine's a few revisions more because I'm on that beta ring. Right. What is going to be added to that Claw AI, the Claw AI, the Ally X is when you boot it up. Right now, you're going to watch me do this in real time. You can go under settings in this game, in this specific app, and you can say, hey, launch this when my machine loads. Right. But for this device, when you do that, what it will do is it will launch Windows, normal Windows, and then once Windows is booted up completely, it will then boot up this app. So then it will look exactly like this, right?
So,
let me finish, please. What they're doing with the AI, with the Ally is that's different. It will boot up just like this does, only it won't boot up after the desktop. It will boot up instead of the desktop. So you have no desktop running in the background. There will be no doing this. That won't be possible. It's just the app, only the app. And the only way you will be able to interface with it is using your controller when you boot it up. There'll be no desktop UI, none of that, just this. And when you hit a game, the game will launch just like it should, right? But when you want to go into the desktop, when you want to go into Steam or some other app UI, then when you hit that menu button, it will switch from this UI to the other UIs, which could potentially have a desktop if you launched it. If you don't launch it, it doesn't come up. Go ahead, man.
So, like I said, you did put in work. Let me finish.
How did I put in work?
Let me finish and I'll explain it. You just literally said, this one thing that shows me all my games between all the things. I had to look out and go look for something, and I found it.
You mean? Oh, hold on. You mean the work you mean is that me downloading the one game launcher?
Let me describe the work. Let me finish, please,
okay.
and then you can retort. So you had to add this thing. You had to make sure.
This is how it looked when I bought it. When it came, it looked like this.
Sure. Okay. So let me finish. You had to put in that extra thing. You had to, like it in the future, if you wanted to make sure that Windows isn't popping up, you have to make sure that the Windows shell is closed. You have to make sure that the Xbox app is opening first. You have to make sure that all this integrations. So the benefit of this new device is that you will not have to do any of that. There will be a widget that allows you to be able to see between all of your stores. Already, you don't have to go download anything. There will already be this customization. Windows will already be
facts, John Wolf. Facts.
The Windows will already be closed down. It will make sure that like this Xbox app is the primary thing that you're seeing, and the Windows shell is popping up. All that work that I am describing, you will not have to do for the new device. Right? There's not going to be any tweaking and twerking. There's not going to be any of that stuff.
So all I'm saying, like you're saying, there's a lot of work done. All I did was download an app, and that app then aggregated my content. That's just how it is today.
And that's okay.
Go ahead.
Y'all got it.
I'll just make one comment, and then I'll let you guys go back to it. And that's why, to me, the semantics around this conversation are very important. And I know, TK, you're taking umbrage with the notion of Lucius saying work. In my opinion, when Lucius is saying work, he's saying it in the context of a person looking for a console experience.
Sure, yes.
Right? We'll see this as an improvement because they don't have to do a bunch of herky-jerky, right?
Absolutely.
What we're saying is that it's not a lot of work. That, to me, is coming from the PC gamer perspective, where there are things we're accustomed to doing. And so I agree with you from your vector. What you're saying is, well, the things that I had to do wasn't really a big bother. No, not in the context of a PC where, it's not unusual for me to pull an all-nighter, right, to fix a problem.
Fix a problem, yeah.
Right.
Well, okay, so again, that then insinuates that there's an all-nighter to be pulled here. Yes,
no,
absolutely right.
No. Hold on. I don't want you to take off on a bad perception of an analogy. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the extreme is me staying up and pulling an all-nighter to fix a problem.
Sure.
And let's not forget that you are.
Well, hold on, guys. Hold on 1 second, guys. That paradigm you're describing of an all-nighter, that might still happen in the world of an Ally X, because based on what we're seeing here, it shouldn't, but it might, because like they're helping the UI UX look great, right? They're helping the UI UX with the gaming as far as the console UI very, very easily. But some of those things that help you that contribute to you pulling all-nighters aren't usually that console UI problem, right? It's some weird quirk that Windows just has, or something that just inherently, because it's Windows rather than a console. And nothing I've seen that they've shown us so far tells me that would be solved. Am I wrong in that?
So this is the weird preface
because you had to get into the insider build of the Xbox app for you to experience what you are experiencing right now. If the standard person boots up the Xbox app, this is not the experience that they get.
we're having a different conversation, Lucius. I just said something completely different than what you're describing. I'm saying
I am trying to finish what I've been trying to say for the past 5 minutes, right?
Go ahead.
There is an additional amount of work that you had to put in. You had to get inside of the insider ring to be able to get these advanced features. You had to make sure to download the right thing so that way you can integrate between all of your things. I'm saying that for the average person, they don't have to do any of that stuff. They hopefully, the objective is they turn the thing on, they log into the things that they need to log into so that way it pulls in all their accounts, and they start downloading those games and they start playing the game. That is the objective. All this extra stuff that you had to do, which may not seem like a lot for you, and it may not be a lot, but I don't think that you should advocate for people to get inside of the insider ring of the Xbox app, because
I did not say that, did I?
I'm not saying that you did say it. I'm saying that the way that you are getting this experience right now required a tiny amount of work. You needed to get inside of the insider ring for it to work as well as it does right now. You needed to download a separate app to be able to make sure that you can see your entire library. You needed to do a little bit of tweaking and twerking. And even now, your desktop is still running in the background. The desktop shell is picking up resources. And that is something that you could fix. But this new device, you wouldn't have to fix any of that stuff. It's all coming in as it should. There's no additional work. That is the benefit. Outside of the C2 Extreme, the fact that the whole point of this device is that it will hopefully get us closer to a real console experience where you don't have to tweak and twerk just to be able to play some games. That's it.
That's the definition of the value prop, right? From that perspective. TK, what you mentioned is why, for me personally, this type of device, right, and this evolution, this movement, right, causes it to sometimes fall into a weird crevice for me. So I'm a person, and I've been building PCs for 26 years, right? And go back even further to when I first started, messing with PCs and getting in and out of DOS and Windows, etc. The evolution of Windows has always been burying our access to deep tools and granular control over the operating system, right? And so as you talk about this device trying to evolve more towards an appliance, right, than a general purpose PC, you're going to wind up experiencing more of that. And so the thing that you mentioned of there's still the potential for the all-nighter, right? Where that potential exists for me is a bother from a PC perspective, because that means that they're moving it more towards an appliance, but it still has some of the potential vulnerabilities and maintainability aspects that could crop up. A very small percentage, right? Could crop up and still be a problem. When you move to an appliance, you get to things like, if your appliance gets bricked, there's not necessarily a way for a normal to address that. If a PC gets bricked, there's ostensibly, a 68, 72% chance that I'm going to be able to address it, right? That I'm going to be able to, boot off a thumb drive and get into the BIOS and reload the operating system and do a lot of things that I can do on my own, right, from a PC perspective. So the evolution of trying to get from a PC to an appliance is going to present some challenges potentially.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, everyone. Yes.
So I do think these discussions are very important to have, but I do think sometimes we not saying we're doing this here, but I'm just looking at the overall discourse around this. And I feel like a lot of it is getting lost in losing the forest for the trees, right? I think at the end of the day, Logic, you spoke about the thing becoming an appliance, right? And that's absolutely the ultimate goal, right? But they're gonna get there, but maybe not day one, right? And what I've seen in a lot of the discourse is that if it's not all figured out on day one, then it's not a worthwhile endeavor.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I do want to get away from, again, I'm not accusing anyone here of making that assertion, but I am seeing a lot of that, right? And so the other thing to consider is, even with these updates, you are not precluded from doing the sysadmin things, because you can go into
fundamentally Windows.
Right, you can enter the desktop mode and do those things if you are that caliber user. And so, but it has been a big pain point with things in Windows, like for gaming anyway, where the controller is not a first-class citizen. That's a thing that is changing as a part of this, right? Task switching, UAC prompts, those things that take you away from the gaming experience.
Task switching that I think is the most important we need to discuss, because that's what's new. Like what I was trying to show here is that true, a lot of those pieces that people describe do exist, but that task switching part is what brings it all together, and that's not available on any device currently. The task switching piece without having a desktop, right? So that is the final piece that even though we all have this on various handhelds, that's the final piece that brings it all together, that would make it what you want it to be. Because without that piece, it's just very much a hodgepodge PC focused experience still.
And again, I think that when people say your PC or your handheld can do that today, that's fine, but your PC is not going to have the task switcher. Your PC is not going to not run the desktop in the background. Your PC today isn't aggregating all of your libraries through the Xbox app, right? So this thing is doing things that your device can't do today. And I think it's also important to remember that when people say that this thing shouldn't be classified as an Xbox, what they're really saying is it shouldn't be classified as an Xbox console, right? And like being console-like is not the same thing as saying that you are a console, right? People will tell you that the Steam Deck is console-like, but it is still a gaming PC, right? They've just gotten away from the things, the ancillary processes, and I like the term that Game Logic uses, which is the sysadmin stuff. Let's get that stuff away and kind of surface the content in a controller first environment. And the other thing to point out is that, I don't know if you know this, the owner of Xbox is also the owner of Windows, right?
Go
and the Xbox team is for the first time committing code directly to Windows. Now we can get into the discussion, which I think is a good one, whether it's a fork or a branch of Windows. The way they're talking and the things that I've seen in the background lead me to believe that it is a branch, because these things will be coming to other devices later. But at the end of the day, if the maker of Windows tells you this Windows-based device is an Xbox because they're adding Xbox features in it, then it's an Xbox. In other words, if his mama call him Xbox, I'm gonna call him Xbox.
We're gonna call him Xbox. That's right.
I think the difference from that perspective that I have with you, Everborn, and I'll talk about it from the perspective of if I'm advising a person on product categories and what things are prudent for them based on their requirements, is that when a person looking for a console experience comes to me and says, should I buy a Steam Deck? What I say is that that's a possibility, but there are some caveats, right? That despite it being a console-like experience, it is not a console. It is not a Nintendo Switch, right? There are some deltas there, and that's where I feel like that's also applicable to this device. I get the improvements and the optimizations and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's not a console. And where I differ with you on the semantics is that, again, I'll go back to historically the definition of an Xbox as it's been conveyed to people is that it is a console and that there are expectations that go with that. I'm fine if that changes, but I'm just saying that that's not what it is today.
Right. And to that, I would say historically, Xbox was not a third-party publisher. We all know how that changed, right? And so I just think this is a transitionary period. And I think that if anyone can call something an Xbox, it would be that happens to be a PC. It would be the makers of that operating system, right?
I totally agree with you. And to your point, right, and I'm glad you guys pointed me to it, that 12-minute video that they dropped after the showcase does exactly that. That 12-minute video conveys to people to think differently about what an Xbox is and did not focus on the historical differences that we have typically connoted as being associated with the notion of a console versus a PC.
Let me jump in and say this.
Yeah.
No matter how we personally feel about the Xbox third-party strategy, or whether or not this thing is a console and what is a console and what that's going to mean in the future, as of right now, I think we can all agree that Microsoft so far has failed to convince the average consumer that the definition of an Xbox has changed, right? I think no matter even people who aren't deeply into this console war sort of whatever, even people like that are being confused at this. Well, here's this, your TV's an Xbox and everything else is an Xbox. People are just kind of like, well, I just thought that Xbox was a console, and a console is this very specific thing inside of my mind. So Xbox has an uphill battle to fight, and I think part of that deals with the way that people see their content, right? And until this Xbox handheld can properly play most, if not all your library, I think there's going to be some confusion and issues with that new definition.
So this is another thing that I think is a good discussion, because I just take a different stance on that, right? To me, this is just a backwards compatibility issue, and every platform from generation to generation has varying degrees of backwards compatibility, right? If I told you that a PS4 was not a PS3 because it didn't have access to your back library, you would say that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm getting at is, it still is in that ecosystem. Your saves, your achievements, your friends list, like the things that make an Xbox, right? I don't know if this is like a Ship of Theseus reference, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many parts of it do you change before it's not an Xbox anymore, right? Because if I gave you a device that like played old Xbox games, but it didn't have your friends list, and it didn't have your achievements, and it had a completely different UI, is it still an Xbox?
Here's what I'll say. One, shout out to you for using my arguments that I used inside of the Discord, because I've been on both sides of this situation, because I am of two minds of it. So I will say that, yes, if you start removing some of those additional component parts, then it doesn't start looking like an Xbox anymore, because Xbox is so rooted in its history and its community that if you try to remove that away and just give people the games, well, that isn't exactly what Xbox is about. So I agree with you on that standpoint, right? But we do have to acknowledge that we exist inside of a world where the average consumer expects to be able to have their library follow them. And I would say that Xbox is the cause of that expectation. Xbox was so good at advocating for backwards compatibility that it forced PlayStation to, make sure that all the PS4 games were going to work on PS5. And I would say that it also pressured Nintendo to make sure that their Switch 1, vast majority of their Switch 1 games worked on the Switch 2. Right? And I don't think that a lot of that pressure would have existed if Xbox had not advocated for that in the first place. So in some capacities, Xbox has changed the way that the general industry looks at backwards compatibility in their entire library. They've done this positive thing inside of the industry to make us expect to be able to have the things that we own. That's great. But now they have to pay the piper when they are trying to slightly change the category, but not give us this thing that they themselves made us expect, right? So, once again, I'm day one on the Xbox Ally. I'm buying it, but I do 100% see the smoke of people saying, "Hey, when this has access to a majority of my library, then it will be as much of an Xbox as you say it is."
So can I add a little bit of slander to these proceedings? Just a tiny, tiny smattering of slander. I considered it an Xbox day one because of how those who like to talk about Xbox view this device. The minute you saw people on the timeline dealing with this, that determined that it was an Xbox for me. Because if it wasn't an Xbox, people wouldn't be crying about it as much as they are currently.
But I think part of the structure of the Socratic exchange, right, on this topic needs to be, it's not about whether the four of us semantically agree whether it's an Xbox or not. I totally, absolutely agree with Everborn that I own the trademark, and if I choose to apply that trademark to other things, then that's my choice as the owner. However, when Sony attempted to brand the Discman, right, that didn't work. And so what they applied to it was they eventually shifted it to the CD Walkman, right? And it was fine for them to redefine it. But it's a matter of whether or not the general public and the people at the cash register get the message that the things are theoretically the same. And how does that get done? It actually doesn't get done via the showcase, which we've talked about strenuously. It doesn't get done during the 12-minute video that we're watching now, right? It gets done by what the corporate communications and marketing plan is, what they're conveying to their retail partners, the write-ups that go up on Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop, the responses in the comments to those reviews, which people will look at, and what the buzz is about this thing when people ask questions. Those are the components that have to be influenced and that have to be consolidated and made cohesive and create a tunnel of messaging to the general public and the consumer who's going to look in on this thing that they've only heard about by word of mouth, right? And determine whether or not they want to buy it and determine whether or not they believe that it's an Xbox and therefore it's something that they would consider purchasing.
So to that end, right, it's really a discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's really a discussion of will the market accept this device, right?
Yeah, and I'd say the back off from that, right, the next edge, right, the concentric ring is then one example you could use is what is that person being told when they go in and they talk to the guy at GameStop or Best Buy?
Yeah, I think the expectation that needs to be set, like you don't want a consumer seeing this and thinking this device will be able to play my console library. I do think part of my frustration with it's not frustration is the wrong word. That would imply I'm upset. But the thing that I'm having trouble with is they're not telling you this is an Xbox Series S or X, right? There's been many versions of an Xbox, right? If they're calling it an Xbox handheld, when Sony calls a PlayStation Portal, it has the name PlayStation in it. It's called a portal. They tell you it's a handheld. There are inherently different expectations that people have when you tell them they are playing a handheld, right? Now, I understand the idea that they also said play all your games. And then they had some very small fine print text that said PC library and play anywhere. And I think that's part of the problem. But I do think from a market understanding perspective, people know this is something different. They've never seen an Xbox handheld before. So the idea that it is something different, I think, is inherent in the fact that it is the first Xbox handheld we've seen. When Sony released the PlayStation Portable or the PS Vita, people knew it's a PlayStation, but it's a handheld, so it's something different.
Okay,
right? And I understand today, hang on, Lucius. I understand today we have different expectations because of the Switch and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think there's an intuitive sense that if you've known a device as one thing, and now they're giving you a different form factor, you're going to at least ask the question without a full expectation of it will do the same thing that the existing thing does. You're going to say, this is different. Okay, what does it do? As opposed to, I know that name, I'm just buying it.
Okay, here's the small smoke that I'm going to give them, though. I think that is an apt argument, but I think that the But when during the announcement of the thing, they use the very corpo language of play across your library, when most people hear that, they think, oh, it can play my entire library. No, that's not exactly what that means. What that means is that you can play games that are across your library. Doesn't mean that you can play all of them. It just means that, hey, this thing can play some games that are inside of your library. And that's very specific language that they can legally get away with. But when most people hear it, they hear something completely different. And I know that messaging is intentional. So I'm not going to allow them to kind of use that language and at the same time not provide what most people hear from saying that.
And I understand that. And maybe this is just me being too plugged in. But what I heard when I hear all your games means your games across all the different aggregated libraries, because this device does that and puts them in one place. So play all your games from Xbox, from Steam, from wherever, right? But I understand. I'm not saying that to discount anything you're saying. I'm just telling you what I heard when I hear that. Another thing I find interesting is that many of the people that kind of have these questions here as to, what the perception is going to be of the device and expectations around it. But many of those people will tell you, for Xbox, Game Pass is the platform. That's the new platform, right? I've heard it ad nauseum, and I'm sure you guys have too. Mm-hmm. And if this device has access to Game Pass, isn't that enough of an expectation?
Well, to me, this is the weird, funky thing, right? This is why I asked you guys in the Discord, right? Is Play Anywhere the new thing, right? So in my mind, from observing this, right, we've got in certain voice tracks, we have Play Anywhere being pushed to the forefront. In other voice tracks, we have Game Pass being pushed to the forefront. And in other voice tracks, we have Xbox being pushed to the forefront. And that's kind of my point, right? There's 3 voice tracks where opportunistically one of those 3 things, right, is the thing. And so I just personally think it makes people ask questions.
Sorry.
Everyone, I love, like, and I personally love this topic, and it's one that I'm super interested in. I pay attention to, right, because it formulates part of what I have to do at work. This topic of messaging to people what a thing is, right, and getting them to think of things differently. And this happens all the time, right, with new product launches out of Silicon Valley and things that we do in the tech space. I understand what you're saying, right, and I do think you're part of what you're saying is from the vision of like how things should be and how you think about it. What I would offer as examples, and not saying that they're one-to-ones, but I think that there's a for example to look at with the iPod to iPhone, right, and how that was communicated and how that was conveyed and how Apple felt you should think about it. I think there's another example to look at in terms of the Apple Watch, right, when it was, what is this thing for and why would it be important to me? Because the Android watches have come before and they were sold to us as a quality of life thing, right? As a notification diminisher, as a means of making things more efficient in our life, right? But then Apple messaged to you the reason you want the watch is for health, right? And that was a very long campaign, right? A very long call plan. I think another thing to look at, right, as an example of a thing that wasn't done well, as a great, for instance, to me, is Apple's Vision headset, right? The media went ad nauseum and continues to go
aside from the $3,500 cost.
Yeah, well, but that's part of the problem with the challenge in the messaging, and why I think this thing might be a challenge, right? Because there's a cost differential associated with a product category and what people have customly historically associated with it, right? If you message to people that this is the next console, the next hardware release, the next Xbox, and people have been conditioned to believe that the cost of a thing called an Xbox is $499, $599, right, with the price increase, whatever, however you want to think about it, right? And then they walk into a store and this thing is significantly different, right? There's a threshold shift in what this thing costs, then that can provide like cognitive dissonance. The bad example I was going to point to is Apple's Vision Pro, right? That's like the cost, right? But that the media continued to talk about that thing as a VR headset, right? I, who am inside the veil, right, on Apple products, know that it's not a VR headset. It's not an AR headset. If you read the ad copy and listened to the messaging, Apple was trying to sell this to you as the next compute platform. Apple was trying to message to you that in the future, you're not going to use a MacBook Pro, right? That this thing has a hard drive, has RAM, has all of the interfaces, whether they be virtual or physical, that a computer does, that a general purpose computer does. It was being advertised to developers, and it was being advertised to developers to do both their traditional apps and their new apps that were going to enable a 3D experience, right? So what Apple was really trying to tell you was this is the next compute, and they used that verbiage in their marketing and ad copy, right? But it didn't take. And so this is, I think all that some of us are saying is there are points where you try to redefine for people what a thing is, and sometimes it doesn't take, or sometimes it's challenging.
Yeah, I mean, once again, well, here's a question, right? Would it have been better or do you believe it would have been better in people's mind, not your mind, broader public, if they would have just said, this is Xbox PC? Is leaving out PC from the naming convention going to cause them problems downstream in the market when this thing comes? And also, I do want to acknowledge, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I do believe there's more time. They still have time to clarify this message.
Oh yeah.
But first and foremost, do you believe they should have, from a consumer understanding perspective, just had a line in there, this is Xbox PC?
So I personally, I mean, and I think, like I said earlier, I think we've spent a lot of time like hyper focusing on the showcase and hyper focusing on the 12-minute video. Where at the end of the day, I've realized in a couple of days to think about it, I don't think that those things are as important and have the gravitas and the weight that we've ascribed to them. Right. I think this is really about what the corporate communication plan is and the marketing, right? That gets down to the retail chains. So for me personally, and a lot of this goes to, if you're going to do the thing, then do the thing, right? Don't tiptoe, don't be tepid, don't be cagey, right? Be direct. So first of all, my thing for me is I think if you're trying to cement this with the public, you call it Xbox. And I get that Asus was in the mix, and there was probably a tug of war and a push and pull, and it came down to like who was investing what. I get that, right? But I'm just saying, if anything possible, like in order to really achieve the thing you're really trying to achieve, this should be the Xbox. It should not be the ROG Xbox, right? Because I think at retail, right, when you go to the retail page to look at this, that's going to cause the thing. And then I think it's a matter of just figuring out what the right fit messaging is for what this thing can do. I don't even, if you're trying to accurately describe it, all I'm saying is you need to accurately describe that it doesn't play, right, your Xbox console games, right? And if you're going to redefine what that means in terms of continuity, then you've got to do that, right? You have to, in particular, set this thing up for what people think of it as competitors and suitable substitutes. I don't think you want people to think of a suitable substitute to this to be the Nintendo Switch 2. Because then people are going to say, well, the Switch 2 is $450, so what gives? I think you want to set this thing up to be a competitor to the Steam Deck. And for normals, they're probably not even aware of the Steam Deck, right? Or barely aware of the Steam Deck. And so there's not a very hard job, I think, to make it as a differentiator. But I just think you have to pull all that messaging together. I don't think it's a matter of the showcase or whatever. It's a matter of how are you going to get right employees at retail? How are you going to get the right ad copy? How are you going to get the right verbiage right on the page so that the passers-by, which I think has been the argument from the other side, right? The people who are pro this say, just by virtue of putting Xbox on it, that's going to convey a message, right? Then if you think that this is going to pierce the veil and sort of get outside the babushka doll, right, the concentric ring of the insiders who get it and understand this, then you've got to level that asphalt, right, and make sure that the message that gets to those people makes sense and isn't confusing and is synonymous, right, with your branding.
So the other thing that brings me to is like we're doing a lot of, all of us, right? Every one of us here and in the community that's talking about this, and we're doing a lot of speculation or whatever. How are we defining success for this thing, right? and I know Microsoft and Asus have their own like KPIs or whatever, but from just from our market analysis perspective, word soup, whatever, how are we defining that this thing did what it was supposed to do?
I think that success for me looks like if this Xbox Ally ends up becoming the grand unifier. We know that at some point, Xbox in the background, they are trying to see if they can run your Xbox games on either this device or a device in the future, right? They are trying to do what I spoke about, which is getting your library on there. They're not promising that right now because there's a lot of challenges in front of their way, both legal and technical challenges.
I honestly think legal is the bigger challenge.
100%. I was just about to say that. But so they are going in that direction. They're trying to, but they can't promise it. That's fine. But I think if this thing becomes the grand unifier, really allows for those ecosystems to really merge where, hey, what this thing is going to be, this is the new paradigm, and you still have access to your old console library, but really we're moving in the PC realm, and this is what it gives you. Now, the biggest question that I've always had regarding this is the third-party stuff, right? I'll use Madden as a primary example. From my understanding, Madden is not on PC, right? It's only on the consoles. And if you look at the NPD, Madden, both this year's Madden and last year's Madden, are typically in the top 20 of like most sold products. And right now that's on the PlayStation and on the Xbox console. A lot of people, casuals and everything, if they end up buying
sorry, Madden is on PC.
Finally on
Madden 25 is on Steam right now.
Okay, good. Because I was just kind of like, I need to find an example, and I think the only one that I have is the college football one. That was the only one that was on PlayStation and Xbox, which is what caused them to sell so much. Well, okay, in that situation, it's really about getting people access to the things that they are normally used to, and then when you fully transition over to like this Xbox PC thing, as long as the players that are used to playing those sort of games, the Maddens of the world, are able to continue to buy Madden, whether it be from your store directly, or if EA wants to direct them towards their store, that's totally fine. Obviously, Xbox loses out on that 30%, but the player is still able to play the games that they typically want to play in a seamless manner. If we're able to get to that point, I think that this thing has been a rousing success because it's allowed Xbox to be able to transition into the future that they want while working on all the building blocks to be able to kind of get it where it needs to be. For me, if it does that by the end of its life cycle, rousing success.
So let me jump in real quick, Everborn. For me, and actually this is probably stealing a little bit of your thunder, Everborn. For me, the mark of success here will have to be that it will have to leave some kind of mark on gaming. And what do I mean by that? When Steam Deck came, because Steam Deck exists now, there's a Steam Deck setting for a lot of games, right? And there are lots of games out there with Steam Deck settings. Not all of them, but they've at least acknowledged that Steam Deck setting is not even specific to the Steam Deck itself, but it's now become the all-encompassing capture of all of the lower end handheld devices, right? And obviously this device will have a new benchmark. It won't make benefit of the Steam Deck setting, because the Steam Deck setting was meant for a far less performant, far lower tier of device. If in its life cycle at some point we see an Ally setting in games, that to me is a mark that it's done what it needs to do. Right? I don't think Microsoft put this out, or ROG and Microsoft have two different priorities here, in my opinion. right? And they will all determine their success individually on their own. But to me, what Microsoft is trying to accomplish here, if this device allows there to be a setting, makes a big enough splash to where it is necessary that a setting is available that will encompass all of the devices of this class moving forward, that to them is a rousing success, in my opinion, because that means that they know they can move forward and do whatever the hell it is they need to do as far as getting games out, and not necessarily have to worry about, oh, what is the profile setting here? What is the profile setting there? This thing is successful enough to where it warrants creating a profile that then encompasses all devices of its class, right? And right now, the only one that's been able to successfully do that is the Steam Deck. So if and when we start seeing these kind of settings for this class of device, I think that will be a mark of success for them.
Yeah. So I think, like for me, this device isn't really about this device. I think this device is about it's about a transition, right? A transition away from them making their own hardware. If this spurs their PC partners to make gaming handhelds, desktops, mini PCs using this, and this becomes the way that people are accessing gaming on Windows, because remember, like 90+% of people gaming on PC are doing so on Windows. They may do it in Steam, they may do it in Epic, they may do it in the Xbox store, but they're still in Windows, right? The only way that the SteamOS and Proton works is by playing games that were developed for Windows, right? And so if they can create an appliance-like setting for Windows that becomes used more broadly outside of whatever this device sells, then that's the success. That is them continuing to be a platform holder without being bound to a specific box that they have to make.
And I agree with you, everyone. I mean, you not to pick nits, but not to say it was an error, but your articulation of the earlier question that what is the KPI for this? I think that's not the right question. I mean, you were wrong, but I think you just articulated why it's not. It's not a matter of KPIs, at least not today. It's a matter of OKRs, right? It's objectives and key results. And if this thing is successful, then it will mean just what you said, right? That the messaging to people will be to be less concerned and to see gaming devices as gaming devices, and not to be wrapped around the axle about whether or not it's a PC or a console. I think the thing that for me is difficult, and I will say, like you said, it may come off as sounding frustrated with this conversation, is the duplicitousness in terms of people who are pro Xbox Ally, right? And I see some of the arguments in the chat. No one who is going to buy this device is not going to understand what it is. That suggests a consumer who is above a certain bar, above a certain threshold of tech savviness, right? Concurrent with the projection that this thing will sell like the Xbox 360 did, which means we're talking about 84 million units. You can't have an argument that says somebody doesn't need to be tech savvy, or somebody will understand what this is, therefore represent that they're tech savvy, and then also say that this thing will pierce the veil and go mainstream and the common consumer will absorb it. Because that puts you in the lane of people who tell people that everybody should be a PC gamer when you got dudes out here who didn't pass high school algebra, right? That's like those two arguments are not of the same vector, right? They are ostensibly different. And just one more thing, and Slow-Mo has it right too, right? Going back to kind of the argument that Lucius made, which is you're going to potentially have a big problem if you're telling people to not be worried about this, whether or not this is a console or this thing is a console or they're all the same thing, and then you have something like GTA 6 come out, right? And people can't play it. Now, I agree the people who are tech savvy understand that they won't be able to on this device, right? But the people who are not won't. And so the question for the people who are pro this and this is going to be successful and it's going to be banga, right? It's simply a question of, are you saying that this is going to go mainstream and go to the common consumer? Because if you're claiming and asserting that it's going to go mainstream and go to the common consumer, then there are things that the mainstream and common consumer does not understand. And the argument that they do is just BS.
So, well, one, I would say I don't know anybody that's making $1,000 purchase on a gaming device that doesn't know what they're getting.
Bro,
for a quick moment, gentlemen, because you brought that up, I must ask. Let's have a quick conversation about that price point, because there have been rumor and speculation about that as well. Right? There have definitely been rumor and speculation about that as well. Let's interject that into our main conversation. Let's see here. I will pull out. Let's see. There you go. So Insider Gaming has said that the release date and the price has leaked. I guess Ecstasies has come out and talked about the price point and all of that. If I'm not mistaken, I think the high end of it is $800. Yeah. Oh, okay. So he's saying that it is $900 because it's 900
euros, $1,000,
which is $1,000 US. Yes.
Yeah.
And then 600.
Yeah.
600
I
euros.
don't.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Just the thing about this is I'm not to take anything away from Ecstasis or whoever is predicting these prices, but this is a fluid thing, and I don't know that we can take any of these numbers directly to the bank in terms of what it's going to cost. I'd rather wait until we see the suggested pricing. We can guess and we can speculate, but I wouldn't take any of this as gospel now, because even if what he heard was accurate at the time, people make price changes every day, right? Like anything could happen before launch.
So no, but I guess the reason why I bring it up is not to say if he's right or not. I guess it's to say what price point is the sweet spot for these, the low end and the high end, before you determine that it's beyond the capabilities or beyond
right.
the point of normal consumer.
Let me go first.
Is that $1,000 good, or are we talking 800, 900? What's your thought? Go ahead, Evan.
I think the most important price will be the entry level.
Agreed.
And I think $549 is too high, but they could get away with it, just saying it's more powerful than a Switch and whatever else. But really, $499 is where I think the thing should be for more broad adoption. And again, you can make your margins or make whatever loss that you take on the entry level model up on the high end one, where the sort of the enthusiasts and the us's of the world will buy those.
So BKNY is asking, what is the regular price of our ROG Ally right now? The standard, and this is Best Buy price, the standard ROG Ally is $650, which is up by $100 because of tariffs. It was $550, and the Ally X was $799, but it's now $899, again up by $100 because of tariffs. So removing tariff prices, the current ROG Allies right now on the market are $550 and $799 before tariff pricing.
So I think that is the price point that they need to hit. $800 is, I think, the most that a vast majority of people will pay, especially at 24 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte. Maybe if it was like, oh, we're giving you 2 or 4 terabytes of hard drive space and 32 gigs of RAM, then I could see $1,000+ thing for the ultra enthusiasts working. But yeah, I agree with what Everborn said. That entry level one, you got to try to get that as low as you possibly can, and if you can, of course, scalp people who want to get the even more higher end stuff. Like, let's just say that this Xbox Ally X is $800, right, at the current configuration. And then in about 6 months or so, they release a version that has way more hard drive space and 32 gigs of RAM instead of 24. And that's where they really fleece you, right? In that situation, I could see a bunch of people getting that version again on top of whatever they previously purchased, maybe trading something in or something like that. Because those sort of high-end people, they're never happy at just having something that's good enough. They're gonna want the new shiny thing. So you could really take advantage of them there in comparison to the lower end model and the Ally X that's going to be there at launch.
I agree. I do. Okay, so I guess I put let's move the conversation forward a bit. I put
hold on. Before we do,
I
don't think we got logic on this. Like, what do you think the price will be versus what you think it should be?
Yeah, give us that.
I honestly am not sure about the market because my own desires have kind of caused me a cognitive lockup, right, for my own upgrade path. So for me personally, who, you know, and I think this is applicable, right, to part of the market that we're talking about this appeals to. I've currently made my handheld bet in the Steam ecosystem, right? And I think a thing that's pertinent to consider is that most of these devices, you know, you have to pick one argument or the other. Either they're standalone or they're extension devices, right? Meaning they are functionally designed to be part of a gamer's ecosystem that takes a place where they've made an investment and allows them to extend that experience to different modalities and different motifs in which they would not normally game. So that is true of the PlayStation Portal. That is true of the Steam Deck. I think there's an argument that at least for part of the market that you'd be trying to appeal to with this device, you'd be trying to make the same appeal. So I've already placed my bet right on Steam Deck. And so the next one for me would be an upgrade, right? It wouldn't be, I love you, TK, but you have a handheld fetish. So it wouldn't be for,
yes, he does.
For the type of people like you. Right? It would be, so for people who have made an investment in a handheld of some notion, for me, it's an upgrade path. And so for me, I'm, you know, as of today, I would assume that the next Steam Deck 2 would be targeting to hit a similar to price point, which is the high level SKU is $650. So for me to make a stretch, and I absolutely acknowledge that this device will be more performant, and that there will be certain advantages that it may bring. And so, but for me, it has to be within striking distance of that to make me not say, I'm just going to wait on the Steam Deck 2. So for me, it would have to be 700, and at a stretch, it would have to be 750.
Question for
and
you,
what about the entry price?
Well, give me 1 second. Let me ask Logic a question here. I appreciate the idea of the deck, the deck being the one that you're sticking with, and because that, and I similarly are very interested in seeing what the deck 2 will do, right? The low end version, the entry version, right, which Lord Cognito is holding right here in his hand, the white version, that is purported to use the Steam Deck's existing architecture, but with more CUs. So a Steam Deck Pro, if you will. Would that like entice you, or is it a software play mainly that keeps you in the Steam Deck ecosystem?
So we need to understand Game Logic doesn't do low end.
Okay.
So
talk to him, bro. Talk to him.
Hey man,
he said, "Look, don't take no mess."
The low end here is the high end of the deck. So you know, I'm just asking. You know,
yeah. If I'm going to be on the market for this thing, I'm going to be looking at the high end option, right, to give me the best overhead, the most brute force, the greatest longevity, right, in terms of, you know, when I would be pushed to think about the next upgrade. So to me, the low end's not a thing.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's been purported to say they're calling it the Steam Deck Pro. So it's like a 1.5 version of what that device can do currently. Okay, understood. Everborn, my question, I was going to now ask people the price point. Well, give me one moment here. I was going to ask what there so far, what has been the conversation that's been had around it, and the price point that purportedly has leaked or whatever. What do people think right now? Is it enough to get them in the building? Are they interested? Are they on the fence, or is it a hell no? So I put it in the chat. I put a poll up. Please, folks, if you're in the chat, go ahead and vote. Let your voice be heard. Are you getting one? And this is an Ally or an Ally X. Yes, no, or I need more information. And we will continue with this conversation. I think there's a few more super chats that I want to read. But before we do so, as is what happens here on the circle. You know, we have more voices to jump into the mix. I want to lend their conversation to this whole conversation thing. And uniquely, we have a gentleman who actually got hands-on with the device. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Paris Lilly. What's going on, Paris?
Hey, good morning.
See you again.
Good morning. Always good to see you in person. And I won't take up too much of your time. I literally had this up with the sound off because I was recording Gamertag Radio, and I'm just looking at the chat responses. First and foremost, let me just say this. Lucius, it was great to meet you in person, sir. I know I give you a little bit of minor grief, but it's all love.
I wish I could put that video on Front Street because I have a video of it. Oh man.
We appreciate the smoke around here, sir. So
yeah, I know. And Game Logic, I do want to say to you, sir, your perspectives on gaming, while you and I may not 100% agree on everything, I do appreciate it because I think you're a very highly intelligent, very insightful person, and it's always good to have a chance to talk to you, sir.
Thanks, Burris.
Or not. That's
on you. He said that.
I didn't hear. I totally did hear that. No. All good. No, but really quick. Again, I do not want to derail your show. It's just obviously I got hands on with the Ally X and was able to speak to some of the engineers about the perspective of this. So first and foremost, let's be crystal clear. This is not an Xbox console. That is all I've seen all week about that argument. It is a PC handheld running Windows. Xbox Play Anywhere games will be playable on it. Obviously, PC Xbox games will be playing on it, PC Game Pass as well. And clearly you can install other digital stores and play those games as well. Microsoft, and they know this, still needs to figure out the emulation layer to get legacy games playable on a device like this, obviously running Windows. I will also say, if you currently own the original Ally X, you don't have to run out and upgrade to this day one. You will not get the updated Windows experience day one because that's not going to come to other devices until 2026. But you're essentially playing the same thing. The advantages that this Xbox Ally X or the Ally has is the new grips on it. It is extremely comfortable to hold compared to the old one because I was fortunate enough to be able to go back to back playing Gears of War Reloaded on the original and on the new Ally X, and you instantly, it's night and day. You can tell how the comfort level's way better. It feels a lot more intuitive. It almost feels like you're holding an Xbox controller in your hands in that aspect. I get the skepticism on this. I get what everyone is saying about Xbox Play Anywhere and what Microsoft is trying to do with Windows and all that. But let's just be real here. And they've not told me this directly. This is just me putting the puzzle pieces together through various conversations. That next gen Xbox is running some variant of the Windows OS, and you're pretty much seeing a pre-alpha of what they're trying to do for the UI experience so that it scales across handhelds and onto, desktop PCs and obviously whatever variant of this console is going to be. I understand, like I said already, this is not playing all your Xbox games. They clearly want to get to that by the time we get to the next gen. So I think a lot of the discourse on that is people just, and I've said this, trust me, I've said this to them directly. They need to better message this as far as that piece goes, because I think it's unclear just looking at the showcase and just some of the videos that have come out. So they need to spend the summer ramping up to launch to get people to better understand that, no, you're not going to play Banjo-Kazooie on this because Banjo-Kazooie is not going to be playable on this, right? Unless you're cloud streaming it. Native games will be PC Game Pass, Play Anywhere stuff. And obviously, the fact that you can install other digital stores. They also know they still need to fix, because they want you to stay in that Xbox experience. They don't want you to have to flip to a desktop to install other digital stores, to do updates, things like that. That is still on the roadmap, which is why I think is part of the reason they didn't want us taking any videos or pictures of the actual UI in action, even though using it, it was intuitive. It's great. You hit that Xbox button, it brings up the game bar. You're able to scroll through to various settings, things that you needed to do, but there's still work to do. And that's why this Xbox Ally X is going to be kind of the test case and not put it to other devices, because they want to make sure they get this right, because they get the skepticism. They understand why people, are hesitant with this. So it has to work day one. So before you can put it on Legion Go or MSI Claw or any other device, eventually being able to build your own PC and install it on a desktop as well, they got to get this experience right. So This will come out this holiday, obviously, and then don't expect it on other devices until at some point in 2026. So that's my spiel, because I just wanted to get that out. I don't know if there's any questions on that.
I do have one, Paris, and thanks a lot. I think a lot of your perspective and the things that you articulated are exactly the thing that I've been saying, and I've seen numerous people refuse to agree or admit that there are challenges to surmount with this, that there's still work to be done. And again, I'll reiterate what I go back to the chat with, right? You can't claim that this thing is going to sell Bonga and go mainstream, and in the same breath claim that everybody's going to understand what it is, because those two statements are not synonymous. So it's just disingenuous. So I just want to ask my question real quick, because I know Paris has limited time. So Paris, what you said about the other storefronts, I guess there's one of two ways to go about that, right? If you're gonna, as TK said, if you're gonna put the Xbox app, the UI, right, the glass up front and bury the desktop or make it inaccessible, is those storefronts either need to be pre-installed or they need to be accessible from the thing that we commonly think of today as the Windows Store, which means that those things will not be the applications that they are today, right? But they will become, UWP apps, or whatever the new technical term is for UWP apps, and you'll be able to go to an app store and access them. Is that the plan, or did you see any of that or hear any discussion about?
So not specific. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Sonic still sucks, but go ahead.
I hear you. That's a lie from the pits of hell. But really quick.
By the way, before you jump into this, I have to give this story from the community event. Kay brought up your name, and I looked him dead face. Who is that? He was like, "It's Everborn." I did not know your real name.
I literally said your name, like your normal name, and he was like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "What?"
But go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes, that tells you haven't read any of my comic books, because we plastered my name all over it like a George R. Martin. We're gonna have to correct that. I'm gonna have to send you a care package, sir. But the only thing I wanted to add to Logic's thing, though, is that in the Windows Store now, being a UWP is no longer a requirement. You can do a standard executable or MSI within that store if you utilize it.
But I thought it's termed something else. It's still not exactly the same thing as an app, as an executable that you go out and pull down from the web. There's a new term for it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Okay.
Also, to answer your question, Logic, real quickly, and maybe Paris will have more for you, but I will tell you that right now you can see integrations with what do you call it, EA and Ubisoft Plus in their store, like as a plugin. So when you need to play the game will show up in the Windows Store, right? All the stuff for it, all the splash screens, all the standard informational stuff you need to see in your store. You'll see it there, even though it's in the Ubisoft Store. And when you hit download or play, it will then also trigger the Ubisoft Store in the background to do the same thing and download and play. So so far, how we've seen it, they are just plugging into those existing stores, and you don't have to leave the Windows Store in order to interface with them.
I'm sorry, all I mean to say is you have to go. It's a thing that you would have to go get, and I'm just wondering what the delivery methodology is.
No, you don't have to go get it. It downloads it in your background. You don't have to do that.
I think we can show a quick demo of this in your public insight.
Yeah, actually, we can.
Yes, we can. Settings. There's a settings called library extensions. Now it should have EA there. If you click that, there's hooks into the EA app that'll allow your EA library to show up and do things like that. That is because they have a partnership for EA Play and Game Pass, but they will be using this setting to manage the stores without. I'm not saying that's working.
This is what we're describing right now. Yeah. So today it's these two, and they're disabled because I don't have those games running. I don't have any games installed from Ubisoft Plus or from EA Play. But if they were, like if I were to go and download a game right now, so I can literally go and look up AC Shadows, and you'll see it inside the store, right? As if it's inside this store. But because of this specific EA Play, the Ubisoft Connect plugin, when I hit download, it will open Ubisoft Plus in the background and start downloading it. I won't see it do so, but it will do so.
So it'll pull it concurrently based on your pull request for a game.
Yes, and I didn't have to I didn't have to go download the Ubisoft Connect app or the EA Play app to do so. It does that in the background automatically because it knows it connects to it.
Okay,
and you will have to sign in as like a
yes. The initial time the first time you do it, you'll have to sign in. Now, even there's a little bit of weirdness because I have my own separate accounts for EA and UB, and of course, there's accounts that are tied to Microsoft. So if you don't have an account that's tied to UB or EA, it will sign you in as a Microsoft user on their services. So you don't have to sign in separately. Just one account will sign you into all of them because they're all associated. Right. Me separately because I have separate accounts as well.
Okay.
And to answer all of what you were just saying, yes, this is obviously a part of it, but clearly there's other stores that they don't have this direct tie-in with yet. Again, this is where they still got to figure all that out, because if you don't already have that digital store installed on it when you first buy it, you need to go install it, right? But they don't want you to leave to a desktop to be able to do that. So they're still trying to figure out that portion of it, because once the game is installed, and they've already shown this, I'm pretty sure, but there'll be a badge on the game to let you know where the game is from. It's from Steam, it's from Epic, GOG, Ubisoft, etc. And they're going to also add a badge on to say if it's essentially Steam Deck verified. They're going to have their variant of that for this as well, to let you know if it has been optimized for the handheld or not, and what store you're launching it from.
I always tried to figure out was what I guess the migration from UWP to whatever their new thing is the WinApp SDK and WinUI 3. So, like I said, I'm not trying to suggest that this is a heavy lift or there's some wackadoodle thing. I'm just trying to understand, right, based on the implementations we have now.
This is useful stuff, right? People usually don't see how this stuff works in the background. Which I should be doing more of this, showing more of this off. To answer your question directly, like when I first initiated this, when the EA Play app wasn't installed, all I had to do was like start downloading an EA game, and then this thing, I'll go in the settings here. The EA Play app here installed by itself in the background, right? And then it made itself available. You didn't actually have to go to EA.com. You didn't have to go to Ubisoft. It just did it by itself and then enabled the plugin in the background.
Yeah, and I think, were you telling me so? I think this harmonizes with another thing that I either read or maybe you told me or came up in the Discord that there's an effort going on to have ubiquitous upgrade tunnels, so that like when you go
that's already out there. That's out there. Yes,
for H2
exactly.
It's not just Windows, but it's like all of these.
It's Windows and all of the drivers, and yes. There's a whitelisted basically a whitelisted path.
That's right, the whitelist
that everyone can use. So like if you have like an MSI Claw or an Ally or anything like that, all of those updates will go through the same update path that Windows goes through. So it's not like, oh, you're updating here, then you're updating there. It's just one place, consoleifying it, if you will. So we'll see how it goes, but it does look like people have literally spent some time on the internet writing a checklist of what people hate, and now they're trying to address it. It looks that way.
Yeah. So really quick pass, because I gotta get out of here back to the missus who is looking at me funny now. So what I will say is I have dubbed myself an honorary member of the Xbox Allied Defense Force, and so I am here taking all challenges. What I will, and the reason for that, jokes aside, why this all excites me, aside from the fact, if you've been listening to this show, I've been advocating for Microsoft to get off their behinds and do something like this for the last 3 years. Once again, as I always say, they are called Microsoft, not Micro Hard. They should be in the software business.
By the way,
I'm trying to get it to catch on.
Everborn, I stole that, by the way. I stole that, by the way.
Oh,
and I said that to an engineer when it was.
Listen, I love it. I want it to permeate the discourse. But
we need a shirt that says that. Microsoft.
Anyone who has used a Steam Deck and who has used a Windows-based handheld will tell you that while you may get more power on the Windows side, the Steam Deck is a better user experience all around. Anyone will tell you this. And so the idea that they are addressing the pain points of gaming on a handheld or in my case, because I do this on a TV as well, that should be praised. Obviously, we'll see what the end results are, and then we can critique at that point. But the fact that they are doing this, whatever the outcome, is to my mind exactly what Windows gaming handheld needed. And this is not about what is a benefit to Xbox, the brand, for me.
Everborn Saga, sir. I hate to interject, but I just came across this and I have to ask. Maybe I'm late to the party. When did the Gears of War Reloaded beta become available that you could
yesterday
install? Okay, I didn't know this. Mm-hmm. I just came across. I'm like, huh? When were they doing a beta? Never mind. I'm still playing my game. Never mind. Keep going.
Yes.
So Everborn, that brings me to one of the key OKRs, right? Go back to your question that you asked earlier about what is success. To me, also a big part of this success is, does this permeate, right, and get more widespread to other handhelds, which we know that's the voice track is that it's going to. But the other bigger thing for me is, does it swim upstream and does it get to the desktop? And in a manner in which that, for me personally, I think needs to be, there is an Xbox for gaming release, right, that runs alongside home or professional, or there is some means, right, to user configure. Hey, when you say I want my Windows 11 install to be for gaming, right, that this is the way that it configures it, and this is what you get presented. And the real threat, right, in all of this conversation that we've been having, from my perception, is not a matter of necessarily of how do we transition the Xbox branding and what does it mean, but it's really to forestall the assault that Steam might make in the handheld space and then start swimming upstream to the desktop.
I can answer that.
It's definitely going to the desktop, but Paris can tell you better than me.
Yeah. So again, because I was having these very conversations over the weekend. So yes, this will eventually. So let me back up. What we played right now, what's on the Xbox Ally X is Windows 11 Home. It's not some weird variant changes anything. It's Windows 11 Home. It's just obviously whatever updates that they've made to it, which will be specific, to that device for the time being. But this will eventually come to standard Windows. You will be able to build your own PC and do this eventually. What that time frame is, I don't know, but that is the plan. That is what they're pushing towards. So that's why I said, again, if you already own a Rogue Ally, the current one, you don't have to go get this. That experience will come to that device. Any Windows device will have this experience where you're able to disable the desktop, put more resources toward gaming, and just play it that way, and obviously control everything via an Xbox controller, whatever device that controller device that you have plugged in. That's their end game with this. And I'll say this too, just since I'm talking about it. So it was funny being able to talk with Jason Ronald and some of the other engineers. All these complaints that we have, because trust me when I tell you, my Rogue Ally has had Bazine on it before. Now it has Steam OS. I like Steam OS because I want that simplistic UI interface where I hit the power button, I'm into playing my games, and I don't have cumbersome issues that I have with Windows. I don't like the Windows experience, and I've expressed this multiple times, so they know, which is a reason why I've been able to get access to this and talk to the engineers. So all our complaints that we're having publicly, they're having internally as well. It's just getting it right. And I think that was the big theme that I took from everyone that I was able to talk to, is they understand our gripes and complaints. I mean, one of the biggest people complaining about this is the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. He doesn't like it either, which is part of the reason all this is happening, obviously. But it's not 100% there today, but I think everything you're talking about, game logic, these are things that they know they need to address. They got to get it right, as I keep saying 100 times. But what I saw was a great first step towards that. And that's why, and I know people got mad with me this week because I said this is the future of handheld gaming. And the reason I'm saying that is because Windows is the dominant OS. So if Windows gets to a point where the UI is user-friendly, it's not cumbersome, I can do everything I want to, I can get instant access to my games the way I want, and I can put other digital stores on here so I can play my games from Steam and these other places. I have anti-cheat, so I can play Call of Duty and Fortnite and these other things as well. That's going to be the one that people would prefer, right? That's just my logic when it comes to that versus SteamOS. Whereas right now, I prefer SteamOS because it's more user friendly.
So, Paris, what are you hearing from partners or from Microsoft directly, and maybe TK, you have some insight into this too? This notion of tying everything together into a unified upgrade tunnel, right? From a configuration management perspective, what that means is that when I'll just call it Xbox OS, which is not a technically accurate term, but I'll just use it to make the conversation faster. That means when I do a step up from Xbox OS version 2.0 to 2.1, everything that's associated and tied and compliant with that baseline is versioned and is tightly coupled to that and works, right? Which means if EA needs to update, if Ubisoft needs to update, like it means that these guys can't be running off updating crap on their own, right? On their own asynchronous baseline, right? And deploying it to this thing, right? Or devices of this type. Has anything been said or talked about like how that works? Have partners commented on like how they're aligning to that? Like it's a bigger monster and it becomes like less wieldy, right? The more you
logic
on it. Yeah.
Logic, I got to tell you, remember when we were just having the conversation about the Windowsness potential issues that are still might be there? That's why I said what I said. That's the part I want to get to, right? Because everything that we're seeing now is awesome and lovely and great from a UI, UX, front end, consoleifying PC gaming perspective. And I think it's great and I'm excited for it. But some of the fundamentals that changes PC gaming from console gaming, I haven't heard them address that in a real way, right? Like to the conversation about as an aside, like the desktop, for example. Remember they're not even going to allow the desktop UI to be there, and as such, it'll save up a bunch of resources. That to me speaks a bit to some of that changing the fundamentals of how PC gaming is done today, right? But beyond that, all the other stuff, your .NET 4.0 is not installed, so now it's stalling. Oh, this one it doesn't automatically launch. Is it a full screen versus a wide versus a what is it? A borderless window? There's a lot of PC gamingness that is different and that people have to deal with when they're dealing with PC games versus console games. And nothing they have spoken right now, at least publicly, speaks to them addressing that and making that part more consolified. Mr. Lilly, if you have anything
Kay and Game Logic to answer your question, and again, I'm not trying to name drop. I just want you to know this is directly from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Let's go. Yes.
Right after I went hands on with it, I sat down with Jason Ronald. We had an extended conversation.
The wizard,
and this is exactly what we talked about. Is all the updates and the variables that comes with Windows that you need to worry about on these devices. How are you going to handle that? And in simple terms, this is why they're using this device as the test case for it. This is why they're locking it to one device, because let's make sure we can get all of this right with one piece of hardware that we know all the specs and the drivers and everything that goes with it, right? Before we go talk to our partners with Lenovo and MSI, or we get to the point where I just build my own PC with off-the-shelf parts. So to your point, no, he didn't get into specifics about it other than they are aware. And this is, again, part of what they're trying to work on, and probably why we won't see this be deployed to all devices until some point in 2026.
But I got to tell you, Logic, those parts of the conversation, that's the part of transitioning from console to PC that I feel is far more a fruitful conversation we should be having. I have no doubt that the UI UX will eventually get good. I have no doubt of that, because they're the ones that built that UI UX. It'll be great. But the things that you still deal with on a PC level on a daily, like, those little nitty gritty details that changes because PC gaming, that is the part that I think is really interesting to talk about, how they transition people, like, how normals who don't deal with PC on a daily are expected to deal with that. I think that bears some conversation.
In simple terms, and everyone, you got to go. I'll just say this because I got to go too. You're asking to what you just said. You're asking people that are used to a console experience where, like, say again, you press the button, I go play the games, to now go into a PC environment where, like, I'm sure everyone in the chat, all of us here, we have no problem tinkering. We can tinker and get to whatever we need. It's about the people that don't want to tinker. It's about, I just want to play the games, and I don't want to be bothered with updates and the issues and things that come with Windows, and that it just works. Now, are you going to ask me, are they going to get there? I don't know. Like you said, what they're showing us looks great, but in real world practice, will they be able to pull it off? I think that's the big what if about all of this, and the big bet that Microsoft is clearly putting on this by pivoting to this hybrid approach with gaming moving forward. I see the pluses of what they're doing, but there are definitely some negatives to this that they need to address to make sure that it works, because it has to be seamless. Because the advantage that PlayStation and Nintendo is going to have over Xbox moving forward as we continue with gaming is the Switch is the Switch. The PlayStation is the PlayStation. Whereas now they're saying let's have this symbiotic relationship with our Windows OS, and not just a forked version of the OS, the actual real OS, where we're just baking Xbox into that experience and essentially doing what Valve does right now with big picture mode. That's what they're trying to accomplish. And then they want you to have that experience from the power button to when you actually hit select to play the game, where Windows is in the background at that point. You never have to see it unless you choose to, which again is what Valve was able to do with SteamOS on the Linux side.
So there are elements.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So there are elements of it.
Yeah, really quick, I'm sorry, Lod, because I'm getting ready to get out of here and go back to listening mode. Just some parting words on this, right?
And before you leave, I have a question for you. Go ahead.
Sure. So, we've had many conversations about, in light of the new love for becoming a third-party publisher or whatever, what is the point of owning an Xbox, right? We've wondered, how do they plan to sell consoles? We've wondered, will people just leave and go to PlayStation or leave and go to PC, right? And to that, I would ask, well, what those people that leave, what happens to their library, right? And I think that when they make this transition, or when they do this, you will have either left their platform to go to PlayStation, or you will left to go to PC. And if this will be the out-of-box experience when you're setting up your Windows device, then how much does it matter whether people accept this as an Xbox or not?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and this is why I say Everborn, the conversations need to be tied together, right? What you're articulating is that this is not going to be for a mainstream, right? And the people who are going to use it are going to be people who are well versed. So why are we doing gymnastics about how this impacts the mainstream? And I'm completely okay with that vector of argument. What I'm saying is, then other people, not you, can't synonymously say this is going to pierce the veil and go mainstream and incorporate a lot of users who don't have that savvy and aren't going to get it and are going to be confused. Like you can't say both things, right? I personally, there are aspects of display that I love, going back to the console, like as you were talking about hybrid and where Xbox goes next. I have spoken frequently about how we used to have this segment of the gaming market that existed in a slice above consoles but below PCs. So we used to have the Atari Amiga, we used to have the Commodore 64, the Commodore VIC-20, the TI-99, the Coleco Atom. And so if part of the future is reinstantiating that slice for the console, right, where I can see the justification for it to cost a skosh more than we have traditionally believed a console to be, and for it to sit in that space, I think that's great. And I think it's great for users because it gives an opportunity for people to access the general purpose computer, kind of, sort of, in a way that's less expensive than going out and buying a $1,500 or above gaming PC, while also concurrently giving them that ease and convenience of the console experience, right? So that they can get to gaming and not be bothered. So I'm excited about that notion of it. And like I said, if this swims upstream and gets to, the desktop PC, that will be good. I have some other things that need to come along with that, particularly in some of the ways that Windows is particularly naggy and has advertisements and things that I don't appreciate and that I don't like, and have been pushing me to think more about rolling another Steam box or Linux box for gaming. But there are elements of this that I find exciting.
I agree, sir.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Ask me the question, but I'll say this other thing.
Yeah,
just because it was sparked in what Game Logic was saying. We talked about like what is the marker of success for this thing. I think that marker of success could be mainstreaming because I think PC handhelds, whether you like it or not, whether we love it or not, are still considered a sort of a niche segment of the market. Would we all agree on that? As successful as the Steam Deck is, right?
Absolutely, yeah. What is it, like 6 to 8 million? That's a drop in the bucket,
yeah,
relatively.
Right. So what I do think here, though, is that if this is the beginning, and it is not about what this one device will sell, I think we kind of got to get away from that and look at this less like an iPhone and more like an Android situation. But if this can kind of kickstart the PC handheld market to becoming more than a niche, right? Not this device, but this is the beginning of that.
Yep. And I think that is why that is their mark of success. They want this to become the Kickstarter of that segment, right? Ultimately, they want this
create a category,
to be the first. Basically, that's right. Like they want this to be the first in the line that will eventually get to lots of different devices doing the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, my personal thought is I personally don't think it's as much about the handheld. It's more about what I was saying. It's the ramp and it's the stepping stone. And in particular, it's a place for them to experiment and integrate in the actual like and send it to the field, right? And put it in the hands of real users, right? It's part of like the same thing that I said earlier this week about Sony, where when people ask why the frack does like the one Sony division keep making the one smartphone now? Like, what is the point of that? Well, the point of that is because everybody in the smartphone market buys their camera sensors, right? And so they continue making this homologation unit so that they can send it to the field and get real world telemetry and feedback from people using it. That's the only reason that Sony continues to make one cell phone, because otherwise it makes absolutely no sense for them to do so.
And among other reasons, now you all understand why, in addition to his wealth of logic, why we have Game Logic on, because his expert drop of some of those cultural references are experts, sir. For those who know, I saw you there. Good job, sir. I appreciate it.
So, I mean, to me, this is more about building the ramp up to what I assume is the next Xbox, right? The next handheld, not handheld, the next hybrid, console plus PC that, again, causes people to think about consoles differently, and that I hope reinvigorates this old category that we used to have and shifts the dynamic of competition, and that it tunnels its way back up to the desktop, right? We're now, if you put that PC console hybrid in place, right, let's just call it an $850 price point and bridge that gap. You're progressing this smushing, right, of PC hybrid console, right, into a space where you're trying to get people to think about it as not having that much of a delta, right? That there are these things that exist in closer distance and proximity to each other in terms of their capabilities and functions and where they sit in your gaming ecosystem, and you think less and less about the differences and the deltas between them. I think that's part of the key purpose strategically of fielding this handset.
Yeah, one other thing that we should mention, right? We are in a world where pricing is actually changing, right? We're in a post $700 PS5 Pro world. We're in a world where Nintendo has released a $449 device. I think the general market understands that prices are trending upwards. Now, there are upper limits to this, and I do think $1,000 is a hard sell to that market, right, of people who are just in that sort of console space. But I don't know that they have to come in at a price that is sub $500. Maybe they can. I think this is too high,
but maybe they can get away with $599. I don't know, but I do know generally the prices are trending upwards, and I wonder what the next gen PlayStation device, not device, like console will be. Right. I wonder.
There are rumors that they're also speculating on also a handheld, like a proper handheld, like these guys are doing. There was rumors I read today even about potential. So Sony is looking at that.
And there's a reason the PS5 Pro costs $750, right, or whatever it is, or $700. I can't even remember what it is. I mean, I agree with you. All these prices have risen up, and I've talked before about how I don't know that we're all going to be standing around bragging about I play on all platforms next generation.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. It's too cost prohibitive to play on all platforms. Right. Yes, absolutely.
And even when the PS5 Pro launched, right, I've talked about how, and I've talked about it with this next Xbox hybrid thing, right, that once you start getting up to certain price points in the console or console-like space, you start bumping up against this range, right, where people go, well, hold on, if I'm going to go ahead and spend that much, right? If I'm in for a penny, why am I not in for a pound? So actually, right, when we go back to the iPhone, iPod example, right, part of the dangerous territory that also needs to be navigated is as you do start increasing those capabilities, thereby justifying your increase in price, you also have to be conscious and think about it, make a decision about your potential to cannibalize, right, on the higher end. Right, you start giving people less of a reason to buy PCs. What does that mean, and how do your partners look at that? Just needs to be a discussion, right? That needs to be had, and them work on kind of rallying all troops, right, around a common strategy.
Yeah, Mr. Everborn Saga, sir. Before you get out of here, because I know you want to go about your day, I have a question I have to ask you, and once I do, you can leave
also,
us. I have some super chats I have to get
to everyone. I forgot to say that.
Absolutely,
Paris was here.
Absolutely,
But
yes.
Everybody.
And shout out to Paris who was able to join us.
I know it's not Father's Day yet, but you know what I mean. Father's Day weekend.
Happy Father's Day weekend. Absolutely. Yeah. My question to you, sir, because we're having these conversations, and I will allow you to respond, but. A little slanderous, but it's a question that must be asked. How do you feel about the potential of continuing to be that frog in the proverbial boiling pot with the suggestions that Game Pass is also going to be increasing eminently, sir?
I'll say what I always say. PSA, if you care about Game Pass as a service, you should have been stacking. And I think if it gets to the upper bounds, like it wouldn't, I'll tell you right now, it's not worth the $20 that it costs Gen Pop today to me, right? Everybody's value is going to be their own, but because it's never been that value to me, I've never paid more than $10 a month for it. Why? Because I wait till Black Friday sales, I wait till whatever sales that you can find. You go to CD Keys, you get 3 months for $30 and you stack it. That's one thing they allow you to do to insulate yourself from these prices. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm saying if you are susceptible to price changes, if you do not think there's value in that thing, but you do think there's some value in the service, then do what you need to or cancel it. Because I'll tell you right now, if I had to pay, even when it costs right now, $18, $19 a month, I wouldn't be paying it. Part of the reason is because, you already know me with the CEG. I've been buying a lot of the games that are available in Game Pass because of the user experience, which is part of the reason I'm so excited about them getting the user experience better on the Windows side. So to me, I think it's already too expensive. And if I was on month to month, I wouldn't be doing it. But I'm stacked until April of 2018. So good luck to you guys.
I mean, 2028.
2028, yes. Right. I've been subscribed since 2018, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, Game Logic.
No, I won't ask the question. I was calling up to ask.
Okay. Lucius, sir, what are your thoughts? You've been quiet in here for a little bit. It looks like prices are going up. I mean, water is wet. What do you think?
Water's wet. My I'm good until 2026. I am looking to stack because Game Pass has been hitting recently. So I definitely want to stack, but there hasn't been any good sales recently, right?
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on a good sale, and then I'll stack for like another 2 years.
Yeah, the last time I stacked was January, but after the announcement of I went through one of the key sites, but after the announcement of the price increases on the consoles and games, there was a run on all the keys that you could buy out in the public. And so now you can't find them.
Yep. And the only ones that are available are just the normal priced ones. Like you might get a small discount here or there, but the kind of large discount that we're talking about that makes stacking feasible. It's
the 3 months for like $25 or less, the 3 months for $30 or less. Yeah, that's the stuff we're looking for. And so far, those are hard to find now.
Yeah,
they weren't always. They used to be easy.
They weren't.
To come by, which is why I stacked.
Yeah, but at maybe when it was June, maybe sometime July we might get a sale, or maybe we have to wait until Black Friday. If we don't get a sale, a really good sale in Black Friday, I think we're cooked.
I think if you don't see a good deal by Black Friday, that means they have purposely removed these options from consumers now.
Yes. They are no longer okay with us getting significant discounts. Now you can still stack; they'll let you do that, but you won't get the insane discounts that you could previously. And I could see that. Amy the Hood is out here.
Stop that. leave that to Discord talk, sir.
TK, one thing I wanted to ask you. So,
yes, sir.
So this year, right? We have the friction from the notion that Microsoft is being more draconian about trying to take away from you the ability to do a Windows 11 install without signing in to your Microsoft account. With this handheld or anything that's going to get this new UI, are you signing into your Xbox account, and are they leaving it at that?
Now this is exactly Windows. Exactly Windows in the same way, to the point where it even is susceptible to the same Windows problems, in that you can be you can get screwed if you have more than like 5 devices. You will hit that window where you will hit that limit where, and I would show you, but that would require showing you guys my Xbox details, which I don't want to. But like this device that I'm using right now cannot be offline because I've already hit that limit with 5 devices. And once you hit the limit of 5 devices, you can no longer switch devices out for like 360 days. So like I'm lucky. I have July is when my change up happens. So now I can remove an old device and add this device in. Otherwise, let's say 5 devices. Let's say you have a desktop, you have a handheld, and you maybe have had to replace your handheld a few times because your battery or something's wrong with it. If you hit the 5th device, now you're stuck. Those other 4 devices are stuck on your profile, and you won't be able to switch them out until a year from now. Right. So those are still problems that they need to fix.
So do we think when you like initiate this device that you are going to be required to sign into your Microsoft account?
Oh, I will tell you 100% you will be. 100%. You will be required to sign into your Microsoft account. Whatever account you use to play Game Pass and play your Xbox games today, that's the account you'll need to sign in here with.
Okay. I do. I try to stay away from making very hard criticisms, but like the big problem I have with that is that today forces a startup of OneDrive.
Yep.
And starts synchronization. And then when you try and stop it, it says you can't stop it. It can like sync one time completely. And then when you try and delete everything, right, and pull everything off, like there's a thing that you have to go through to get rid of all that, and then stop synchronization, and then uninstall OneDrive. So theoretically, they're addressing that, right? If they're trying to debloat the operating system and trying to debloat the background processes and stuff, but that is a deterministic path that the code traverses through in a Windows startup that they've got to decouple.
Yes. So shout out to the great Infinite Umbra, who's had this issue for a long time, and I've been helping him deal with it. Presumably, when this thing is finally configured and ready to go, it will not auto start. It will not auto start. What do you call it? OneDrive. Because if it does, that'll be a total fail. Absolutely.
Okay. Does the Ally do that? Do you know?
The Ally does that. Yes, I've actually had to log in and configure it myself, not to, but all Windows devices auto launched OneDrive, and they determine that your desktop then gets like added to OneDrive, so that also becomes some of a pain point at some point.
And your photos.
Yeah, exactly. It treats it like a normal Windows laptop today, and that's a problem.
Yeah, again, if you sign into your Microsoft,
which you have to.
Yeah, like it's insane that you have to like pull up a command prompt to be able to type in a code to then allow you to be able to log in normally. Because if you don't, like, multiple people have run into this problem where because it auto sets up a OneDrive instance, the desktop instance that you're looking at isn't your real desktop. It's the OneDrive
virtual desktop.
And that, and if you ever start deleting stuff, it becomes a gigantic hassle. So it's just like, allow me to at least get to my desktop first, establish a local situation before logging into anything. Just please.
And so BV in the chat, BV in the chat is saying you could just. BV in the chat is saying Windows login and Windows Store login can be different. I do, and I get that, BV. That is my point. My point is that mine are different. Well, actually, mine aren't. They're the same. But my point is that if this thing is supposed to be a console and smush differences and debloat and blah 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 blah, the requirement should be to log into your Xbox account, right, and to only initiate any automation that goes along with that operating paradigm. It should not, right, kick off a bunch of stuff that's associated with your Microsoft login, right, and things that would be associated with the way desktop PCs are normally today. And I hope that's the way they're proceeding.
Yeah, but to your point, Logic, like fundamentally, the paradigm is of a PC and of a laptop. Oh yeah, of course they smoked me. I'm talking while I'm playing.
Today, yeah.
It's that's what it is, right? And it can't be that way moving forward, because if it is, you'll run into a bunch of weirdness, right? You'll run into the lockouts where you're not allowed to have your account on multiple devices, even though you have, reasons to have that. You'll run into a lot of those PC paradigm stuff that, let me be honest with you, I am peppering people in the background going, hey guys, have you thought of this? Hey guys, have you thought of that? Because I am that super user that stresses their systems, right? I'm the one that has multiple devices that hits their thresholds. So I understand that my use case may not be everyone's use case, but while that transition is happening where more devices of this kind will be normal place for people to have, it's good that we go through that process of living with it and pointing out all the various issues that need to be resolved in order to get to this utopia console hybrid place that clearly they're not at yet. You know what I mean? They're definitely not there yet. But yes, I like that they're at least addressing it, and they're taking feedback, and these pain points are actually being listened to. So there's that. Everborn Saga, sir, anything else you have on your radar that you want us to know before you get out of here? We're actually rounding the bottom of the show as well. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've been busy all day. What you got, sir?
Yeah. Last thing is, what does the world look like? And I don't know if you guys heard me ask this before, because I had to jump out and jump back in because of internet connection issues. But when we talk about like success and things like that, what does the world look like when this becomes a part of the OOBE of every SKU of Windows Home, right? When you're starting a new PC, is this a gaming device? Yes. Now you're in this.
See, but you know what though? I actually think they've done a lot of good work in that world already. They just hadn't threaded the needle well enough yet, right? Because today, and I've, for whatever reason, I've had to reinstall Windows multiple times. And that is a paradigm that exists today. Hey, is this being used for Windows, for gaming? Is this being used for X, Y, and Z?
But if it's used for gaming, what exactly
right now,
do today? Because
that's my point. Right now, it's not doing it fully. It's not going well enough, right? It's not really tuning it for Windows purposes. But the groundwork has already been laid. Just like I was discussing a little while ago, people were saying that, hey, we need them to give us a well-defined, does this work for handhelds like they did with the badging system, say, for example, on Steam. What most people aren't aware is, for a long time now, the Windows Store has been doing exactly that, just not been doing it in a very PR kind of way. When you're buying a game, it scans your hardware and tells you, hey, this hardware is does not meet the threshold of a game being playable. It will tell you that, right? It says it right there. It's just because they're being more retail with it, because they're being more game focused. Now they're gonna have to put badges up and let people be very clear on what they see. But the groundwork, at least the fundamentals of that capability, has been available to be used for a very long time. I can actually show you guys, like in the App Store, it always has a check mark that says, and I'm looking at it right now, it says this product should work on your device. Items in the check mark meet the developer's requirements, and it checks the OS, it checks the architecture, keyboard, mouse, memory requirements, video requirements, CPU and GPU requirements. All of that has been part of the Windows process for a long time. But of course, the smoke that is always deserved on them is they set up those things, they work real well, and then they never talk about it. So nobody knows that they exist, but they definitely do exist right now. Right. So hopefully we get to a place where it is now easily, visibly seen that, oh yeah, this stuff exists. Right. Because right now nobody really knows that it does.
So I think I'm getting down to my last question. When am I going to get Windows on ARM in a PC handheld with this UI, with power that maybe isn't commensurate entirely with a Strix Point, right? SoC and chipset. So I'll take a little bit of a performance hit. But when am I going to get close to that performance with this Windows UI, with this Xbox UI, and the battery life that I get from Windows on ARM?
So I can tell you that I can't tell you when that will happen, because from a will they do it, when will they do it perspective, who knows? But I can tell you that from a technology, is it possible perspective, we are closer now than we ever have been. I own an Odin 2 Portal, which is an Android device, ARM-based Android device, uses basically the Galaxy S24 Ultra chipset, which is I think it's the Gen 2, the Snapdragon Gen 2 processor. And that device, you can run an ARM version of Linux on it, Rocknix. It is so capable, to the point where now it is just about the vendors choosing to put the hardware on, to put it on that hardware. I'm more convinced now than ever that in a world where people choose to take ARM and make it a viable option, the hardware is far more capable now than it ever has been. Will Microsoft do so? Will we see an Xbox UI on ARM? I hope they do, because I think these devices can handle it. And to your point, the battery life is amazing and all that. But Lord knows when they will pull that trigger. Who knows?
Well,
maybe one day they'll read my letters.
I mean, I think we definitely are, right? I mean, that's what Qualcomm is spooled up to do. Definitely the NVIDIA MediaTek partnership is pointing in that direction. MediaTek is going to tape out its 2 nanometer this fall. So yes, so you can't say when. And then going back to Lucius's comment, right? But without the work, just a guess on when you think that kind of event horizon would be kind of reasonable to expect. Honestly,
I think, with all things considered of technologies, if licensing and all these other factors aren't a part of the equation, 2027, 2028 will be very interesting. I think that's when all the floodgates in that respect open, because now the hardware, because what I'm seeing here in the Odin 2, that's literally the beginning of it. Right? Yeah. We'd never seen, before the Odin 2 and the Odin 2 Portal and all that, we hadn't seen Android devices that were that capable, that had awesome OLED screens and the ergonomics. We weren't there, but we're there now. So now it's just about what will those vendors do? Are they viable? Are these platforms viable options from a technology perspective? They are now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it might even be sooner. I'm going to be bullish and say NVIDIA and MediaTek's go-to-market will be with a gaming handheld. That's the way they're going to introduce the chipset. Now
that would be cool, sir. That would be cool. Imagine a MediaTek CPU and an NVIDIA GPU in a handheld on ARM. That would be really, really cool.
Well,
I'm excited for that.
I think the technical reality is it will be an APU.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's basically a nice sock combination. Yeah, it'd be really cool. Lucius, what do you think, sir? Do you think we see an ARM-based handheld in our future, or ARM-based environment where Microsoft will play as well, or is that just not long for our world?
Well, I do think that would be possible. The biggest issue is that the biggest player in ARM right now when it comes to that sort of stuff is Snapdragon, and they have a lot of driver issues, as well as like they're not as strong on the GPU side as we would need. So I think that is kind of the first step. Like, can NVIDIA ever actually be interested inside of this space? I don't think this space is big enough for NVIDIA to be able to really jump into, especially considering, they're playing in the AI game right now. They're making so much money that
they don't really care about this space right now. You're right. Yep.
Now I will say that NVIDIA is working on their own ARM-based CPU, so that way they can, associate it with their GPUs and such. But that's primarily on the server side, where we're talking about hundreds of cores and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if that ever gets downscaled to the point that it can work in a handheld. Maybe if NVIDIA sees an opportunity, if the cores are good enough, if the CPU cores are good enough, then I could see NVIDIA trying to do that in the laptop space. And because they do it in the laptop space, that opens up an opportunity for the handheld space. Because the laptop space is big enough, and I could see NVIDIA wanting a larger percentage of the pie. So now, instead of only getting paid for the GPU side of it, they can take their discrete GPUs associated with a ARM-based NVIDIA CPU, and now they're getting a larger chunk of the money of the full sales of like the $2,000, $3,000 laptop that you're buying. Now NVIDIA is taking a larger percentage of that because Intel and AMD is no longer, in that fray. So I could see them doing that, and via that we might see a handheld, and that would be an exciting place to be.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you that they are, like, part of their partnership has strategies vectored towards AI and automotive, but I will say part of it is also PC development, right? And part of it is definitely vectored towards Windows on ARM and getting into a competitive space because that initial Windows on ARM partnership was exclusively between Windows and Qualcomm, right? But that exclusivity period is ending, and it will be opened up to other vendors, and NVIDIA and MediaTek are working together as that being their vector to get back into PCs and via Windows on ARM.
Yeah, if that becomes a thing, this is, listen, big NVIDIA might be a real problem in this space.
Yes, they would. Indeed.
And people are willing to pay premium. So, like, there wouldn't be the issue of, oh, well, I'm not willing to pay $1,000 for this because X, Y, and Z. No. Like, because of that NVIDIA name, if they're able to and they've already seen the success of the Switch, right? Yeah. So
but you know what though? I like, my only pushback on that is in the Switch space, they're just a name. No one's actually really using them to effect. And the reason why on PC they're so exciting is because those of us who use them, like us enthusiasts who use them, see its benefits like at our fingertips, right? So in other words, whatever this would be, would have to have them bring that DLSS magic to handhelds in a real way. And that would change the needle. In other words, what people are saying in the chat, I agree with. They'd have to care enough to make that splash in this space, and it looks like they don't.
Yeah,
right? It looks like they don't care right now.
I think some other things are getting twisted or misunderstood in the chat. Yes, Windows on ARM has been around for a long time.
Yes,
until last year, it has been crap. Last year was what I would argue is the first really effective go-to-market instance of Windows on ARM. The Surface line has transitioned predominantly to Windows on ARM. That initial transition was an exclusive deal with Qualcomm. So Qualcomm was the only vendor able to provide chips for Windows on ARM. That exclusivity window has either ended or will be over soon. And that's my point, is that there are other ARM vendors who have been who have been putting out marketing saying that their intention is to go into that space and provide additional chips for Windows on ARM, including the strategic partnership between NVIDIA and MediaTek, where they are working on creating an APU for that purpose.
Yep. There you go. So, all right. So before we get out of here, I'm going to read a couple super chats. Before I do that, though, let me show you guys this real quick. So this is what I was talking about as far as what Microsoft has been doing for a while. So this is obviously Forza Horizon 5. If you look towards the bottom, and this is on a handheld, you see, and this is a problem because of handhelds, and this points to and probably Lucius to your point, right? This points to them needing still to do a bit more work. Right, because this handheld specifically is an Intel handheld, and because of it being an Intel handheld, it handles VRAM differently. Right, other devices handle VRAM in static allocation, and Intel handles VRAM in a dynamic way. So as the game needs more VRAM, it allocates it. So when you're looking at it just off the jump, it won't see that it has VRAM. So when you look here, it says VRAM allocation, it needs a minimum of 4 gigs. But since the computer doesn't define how much VRAM it has, it says it's not specified. And because of that, your computer doesn't meet the minimum requirement of VRAM. Your experience might be affected. Right? They have been doing this and scanning for this for a long time. Every game you look will either say, yes, check mark, you meet the requirements, or it'll give you a suggestion as to why you don't. Right. So now I guess the point I'm making is they just have to surface this information in a more PR kind of centric way to let people see. Because look at this one, right? With what do you call it? Black Ops 6, they have minimum requirements, which is architecture OS and Steam availability. And since their requirements are minimal, you do have a check mark, right? So it's not quite like a standard yet, but they have been doing this kind of stuff for a while now. They just need to leverage it better on a handheld. So hopefully when this stuff is a release to the public and more people can see it, this stuff is implemented well, because this will go a long way in getting people feel comfortable about, the games they're buying and all of that, for those who aren't necessarily well versed in these waters. But okay, let's get a couple super chats done, and then we'll get the heck out of here, because I think we rounded the bottom of the episode. But I appreciate all the great folks that are here and all the great conversations that we've been having. Briscoe_son with $2 super chat. He says, "What's a Xbox console gamer best entry for PC gaming?" Let's see. These days, I would actually say a handheld. I mean, unless you're talking about something desktop and you want something under something for a piece, like a proper PC, then it's always about the cost-effective pricing and whatnot. But in general, if you want something entry level that gets you into PC gaming, entry level, right? And maybe you're a console gamer and you just want that entry level stuff to kind of dip a toe in, I would venture to guess that these days, any of these handheld devices probably is your best bet. Your original ROG Ally, something like that, you can get it for $200-$300 if you're specifically an Xbox gamer and you need Windows. But yeah, I think that's probably your first dipping of the toe in the water. Once you're there and you like it and you want more, then yeah, you may want to upgrade to something a bit more substantial. But entry level, I would say the ROG Ally, the first ROG Ally. Go ahead and grab you one of those at a very deep discount these days. I think that'll serve you right. Lucius and Game Logic, do you disagree in any of that?
No, I think that's a good. If you can get an ROG Ally for around $300, which you can, sometimes it's used, but
yeah, these days it's available like that.
I think that the Z1 Extreme inside of the ROG Ally is a very good chip for a vast majority of indie games, and kind of medium level or older AAA games can run pretty well on it. The newer games, you might run into issues here or there, but yeah, I think the original ROG Ally is a very good use case for that. Just know that your SD card slot may not work because there is a issue with the original model.
Well, that original that one also, they've done some firmware updates. Unless you get a bad batch that has the physical hardware issue. I've had Allies since that issue that haven't had any specific issues with the SD card. They did do some kind of, I think they increased the fan speed or something to kind of counteract some of the heating issues or whatever. So it is still there if you lose that lottery, but they're not all bad. Some of them are okay. But no, I think the Ally may be your bet. Game Logic, what about you, sir?
I'll only disagree with you because I'm a curmudgeon.
Please do.
And I think that much ado that is made about how difficult and complicated and a pain in the butt PC gaming is way overly. Now, that is my personal assessment. That is not my mark. When I talk about the market, I say people want a push button experience, and I get their complaints, right? But when I talk about my personal experiences and like what influencers say, I think too much ado is made about how difficult, right? And I also say
the drivers,
super, super huge pertinent to a lack of experience in what it used to be. Because I come from Win 3.5, and then as a gamer, like Windows 98 SE. So please do not be in my face talking to me about how PC gaming is today.
Go install freaking network drivers on Windows for work groups, and then come talk to us about difficulty and get things done. I feel you.
I have to run FileZilla overnight in order to download all your patches for games. So my personal feeling is, and again, this is like tightly coupled to my notion of philosophy, is I feel like people need to be exposed and actually do the work and realize that it's not that hard. When I say,
so you're on Lucius's page, you're like they need to get through that process. The learning curve is necessary sometimes.
When somebody says entry to PC, I would actually say maybe $1,000 to $1,100 to $1,200 laptop like an Acer Nitro that runs something like along a Core i5 or AMD Ryzen 5 level chip. Might not be a bad idea and is a good way to get your feet wet. Or partner with somebody who can give you some advisement. Like an entry-level PC, I don't think is bad. I think you need somebody to, if you're not going to do the work to educate yourself, I think you need somebody to do the work and help you along. But I actually think those are good ways to enter the PC space. I think in some ways better than a handheld, which may mislead you to believe that things are going to be simple, and then you're going to find out that, oh no, I do have to contend with some of that stuff. And then I say, well, in that case, maybe you should have just gone with a laptop, so you don't have to dock like this handheld to a screen to be able to get to the desktop to see and swim.
Get access to a keyboard in order to be able to deal with whatever you need to deal with. Yes. I understand. So very much Lucius's argument. Lucius, I'm sure you're being quiet here because that is literally your argument. I hear you.
He's speaking my bars. Sometimes you got to
I know
to be able to really enjoy certain things.
And I'll staple onto that, right? And part of the reason I say that, and this is my problem with a lot of electronic devices, right? And people don't like to hear it. In my belief, right, with great power comes great responsibility.
Hey, good bars. Keep going.
If you want to use a device that grants you a lot of power, you have to have the willingness, right, to onboard to the level of responsibility and care and protection of your privacy information and knowing and understanding what you should do and what you shouldn't do, right? Like, if you don't want that, then buy an appliance, right?
Yep. I agree. I do. You get no slander on that point because I think that is a righteous point, no doubt. JD Gamer, $10 super chat. He says it took Netflix approximately 10 years to change the general public's idea of what, where, and how we should consume video content. Xbox has an IP and the resources to accomplish their mission of changing the game. Hey, there you go. He says that this is an Xbox idea has started. Maybe in 10 years from now, people will agree with them. Who knows?
And I don't think it'll take that. And I agree with JD Gamer, right? And this is, again, part of my point is let's stop the duplicitous comments, right? Don't talk about Xbox having the resources, right, and the ability to change, and then concurrently at the same time claim that there's no change that needs to be made. Right? That's my point. There's a challenge and there's work that needs to be done, and I appreciate that they know that there's work that needs to be done, and all we're talking about is the work that they need to do it.
And then Pixelbit G in here with a $2 super chat. He's saying PS5 doesn't play PS3, but yeah, I guess that is a point to those who are thinking that the Xbox has a higher hill to climb because back compat is being held as a requirement, right? And some of these others are not being held as a requirement. And yes, before y'all come for me in the chat, I will say, to be fair, that is a requirement that they themselves, Xbox that is, put on themselves, right? By being so good at back compat, now that is a requirement that's held to them because that's what you expect from them. They've always been that way. So yes, I do get that.
I'll draw. I know you're trying to get through. I'll draw another analog, right? That to me is synonymous and harmonious, right, with the thing Apple had to do with the iPhone, right? that because Xbox made a big noise and identified it as a product differentiator, right? That for back compat, and that's a value prop. Then they've got to walk that dog right in this transition. In the same way that Apple, when they redefined music and digital music and the music experience with the iPod, that they had to crosswalk people to that for the iPhone.
Yeah. Yep. You're not wrong. There is an education that must happen. Right. And where I will also caveat with what Everborn Saga said, they've started that education. They actually started that education before they even showed you this handheld. They were showing you this is an Xbox for about a year. Right. So let's wait and see what they do before this device releases. I have a feeling that there'll be more educating of the consumers before the thing is available in people's hands. The Black Viking with a $2 super chat. He says it was in big, bold letters, natively and remote. Now, I agree with you, Black Viking, but I think what people are taking them to task on is the percentage, right? Natively and remote. Which versions are native? Which versions are remote? They should have been a bit more definitive with that. Right?
And for a grand total of less than 4 seconds. I timed it.
Sure. And actually, I think that what people are sensing there is most likely that soup of native versus remote, the ratio is changing. We don't know which version, how much of it will be native versus how much of it will be remote. I mean, you can tell what is native now because every single Play Anywhere title is native because that's PC, right? But I suspect that because they didn't really be definitive about the ratio of native to remote, they might be trying to work on something there. We don't know, but it seems like before the ink is dry, they want to make sure they do everything they can before they tell you what that is. I look forward to seeing what that ratio looks like when it's done.
And a small nit, and I'm sure that they will address it, right? Is that
sure?
Remote may or may not mean the thing that people think it means, right? Like remote is remote streamed from your Xbox, right? Generally,
they did do both. They did say both. They said natively, they said remote, and then they also said cloud. So in that paradigm, they mean remote to your Xbox and cloud.
Right.
They use different verbiage for all.
Yes. They just didn't. I don't believe it wasn't on screen at the same time. Right. So natively and remote was one thing, and then wherever they made the reference to cloud,
and they said cloud as well. Yeah.
I'm just all I'm saying is in the communication campaign, in the retail marketing chain partnership, right, that needs to be lined out for people, I think.
Yeah. But again, I do think that more education and more conversation with the consumer will show up before this thing is in retail stores. So
agreed.
JD Gamer with another $10 super chat. Thank you, JD. He says, technically, most people here know that Xbox is simply a virtual machine running on top of Windows 10. My tech brethren, how hard would it be to get that virtual machine to run on Windows 10 and 11 in its games? JD, sir, that is the speculation that I have been having a conversation with this community for about, 2 years now on? Them separating that hypervisor and putting it in a Windows 10/Windows 11 machine and having it live wherever Windows 11 lives. We don't know when that'll be, if that'll ever be, but boy, oh boy, that's the holy grail.
And let me just say this one last thing before we just end the show, because we've been here for a while. And if anybody at Microsoft is listening, hands down, the greatest feature that you've done in the past 10 years has been Quick Resume. Quick Resume is incredible. If you are going to move to this hybrid Xbox PC, whatever it's going to be in the future, Quick Resume, like my library, is pivotal. I am playing a lot of my games on PC now, and it is the one feature that I miss about playing.
So say we all.
Xbox. And if you could get Quick Resume to work on the Xbox handheld, either this iteration with the Xbox Ally or whatever happens in the future, I will pray at the mantle of Xbox forevermore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
I think we agree with that.
Do you think they're not doing that? I mean, on this initial rollout, because that is a key feature of Steam Deck, right? That continuity and putting it in standby. Right.
Well, standby, I think that they will work on, but there's a difference between standby and Quick Resume.
Well,
right?
which keeps multiple games in standby, right?
Standby in the
multiple games
sense,
there,
right? Not in the Windows suspended power state sense, right? But
okay. So let's continue on here. Mo De La Garza $2 super chat. He says Xbox Ally will be the gateway to PC gaming. On that, sir, I don't disagree. I think that's definitely what they're trying to do here. I completely agree. Like no smoke from you on that. I think this is a move to get more people into PC gaming. Right. I also think they're trying to redefine what PC gaming is on their platform. How successful they are with that, the devil will be in the details. We shall see. Right. Calorie has joined our ranks as a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Calorie, for being here. Thank you so much for being a member of the chat. Don't forget to join our Discord. Lots of great conversations happen there as well. And you being a member here gives you access to a VIP section in our Discord, which we should use far more, by the way. So we're going to talk about that. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for being a member.
We also use that VIP channel to be able to drop keys every now and then.
Yep, we drop game codes there. Yep, indeed.
Keys to specific game codes for games on Xbox and PC. So if you are a member of the YouTube channel, just please make sure to every now and then pay attention to that location. Sometimes we'll just drop the keys there, but sometimes we'll do like giveaways where you have to like press a button and then you're put inside of a raffle.
Yep. Brup, Basement Arcade Radio Arcade Podcast with a $5 super chat. He says, in my opinion, Microsoft is explicitly defining what Xbox unification means and demonstrating the tangible advantages of unification. I can't disagree with that. Right, like a lot of these regular normal users have been creating these unified experiences, and now it looks like Microsoft is finally taking note and creating that unified experience themselves as well. I think that's a really awesome look. I think ultimately, whether you're on PC as a regular PC user or this is for you specifically for CEG purposes, shout out to Cyberpunk Saga, I think all these moves will purposely be great for you in the long run. You know, one day we can just DIY and install this on our own boxes, and I think that'll be the ultimate goal. So shout out to y'all for appreciating that. I think so too. Flight 116 $2 super chat. Curious, what does SteamOS? Curious, does SteamOS not get hacked? Actually, I would say SteamOS is as hackable, susceptible to hackery as any other OS. Linux OS, because it's a Linux distro. Right, it's actually the security through obscurity thing that people both love and hate about Linux. Right, that's the reason why. One of the big reasons why black hole games don't work there, because yes, you can lock it down, and yes, you can make it so that anti-cheat works. But the minute you do that, you're putting it. The developer of this has kernel access and is able to get into the kernel and lock it down and make it work exactly the way they want it to. But because it's Linux, any other enterprising individual can go right into that kernel access and then circumvent it. So it's a cat and mouse game specifically on Linux. So hacked is not necessarily a term for Linux, I would say, because hacked would denote something that's secure that you're then making unsecure. And Linux allows everyone and anyone to have access to the same things. So yeah, they can kind of undo what you as a vendor do in that space. So that's probably why you won't be playing Fortnite and the like there anytime soon. So there's that. Also, we have Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap, once again with a $5 super chat. He says, think this also flows down to the next Xbox console set-top box with a console/PC integration. Some reporting suggests this is the case too. Sir, 100%. I won't be disgusting. I won't be slanderous, or I won't take my victory lap, but I will just tell you to go read the Xbox Era article that I wrote in 2024 defining this exact thing. And it looks like they read my letter, because it's all coming exactly the thing that I speculated. But I agree with you, sir. Yes, it looks like this will be the ultimate move when it's all said and done. The great nerds and other legends, great member of our Discord. He's here with a $5 super chat. He says, happy Father's Day weekend to all the father figures, or those that are filling the void in someone's life. Salute to you, good sir. Happy Father's Day to you. I know you out there doing good work, being a great dad to those who need it. So happy Father's Day to you too. Happy Father's Day to everybody who's here and listening and being a part of the communication on this Father's Day weekend. And then finally, the great Everborn Saga with a $5 super chat. He says, and if the new UI experience is in fact coming to the existing Ally devices, does that solve an issue for more price sensitive consumers? I think that's a very interesting line of questioning that maybe we should end on, right? Being that we're in tariff land and all of that, and expensive pricing and this, that, and the third, right? For all those who are avoiding the pay pig status, and there are many who avoid the pay pig status, right? If you have an Ally right now, if you have any of these devices, let's be clear, it may take a while, but what you're seeing here will all come to those devices as well. Is it a world where only us enthusiasts buy this thing, and then those of us who like the UI but aren't willing to pay for it, aren't willing to do that pay pig activity, they wait and then it shows up on the OG Ally, right? They wait and it shows up on an older device. Is that a way to circumvent some of these price sensitive consumers? Lucius, thank you so much for being here, sir. I will let you go, and before you go, and before you tell the people whether or not to find you, why don't you answer Everborn's question?
I think that it's going to depend on how long you're willing to wait, right? If you are incredibly price conscious, yes, you can buy an ROG Ally, deal with the jank that exists right now, and in about a year and a half, you'll get that thing. But if you aren't willing to wait, and I'm not saying that it's going to be a year and a half, but I'm saying it could be that long. If you're if you are willing to wait that long, then yeah, all of this works out for you. This is something that you can very easily do. But if you aren't willing to wait that long, get your bread up.
All right, sir. And where can people keep up with your ongoings? Just before you even answers it, I will say Lucius is anointed on the GCP channel and in the GCP Discord. We're going to be doing a lot more in this realm, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of him. But people, tell the people where they can keep up with your ongoings these days, sir.
Yes, you can find me at the GCP Discord, and only at the GCP Discord. Please, for the love of God, do not look for me. This internet stuff gets some people a little bit too riled up. We saw that one story of somebody who got shot and killed up in the streets. And that's just crazy, right? So I want to avoid interacting with crazy people. And I don't, shout out to our community. I don't think anybody here is crazy, but you never know. Don't look for me. You can, but if you want to engage with the smoke, you want to go the back and forth, you want to have interesting discussions with people who are trying to argue with you in good faith, then join the GCP Discord.
There you go. I co-sign that last statement wholeheartedly. We hear about we go into the intellectual octagon, and we let it fly as we do. And of course, another gentleman that has been known to be in our intellectual octagon, the one and only Mr. Game Logic, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Answer Everborn's question. What do you think of price conscious, price sensitive consumers and them leveraging the existing hardware base in order to defray some of those costs? And thank you again, and let us know where we can keep up with your ongoing, sir.
So I think from that aspect, again, you in my mind, you have to go back to my babushka doll analogy, right? Or the if then else statement that I wrote in JavaScript on Twitter the other day, right? And talk about the market, right? The concentric circles and the collapsing, right? Venn diagrams that this thing is, right? A person first has to be interested in PC gaming, right? At its core. A person then has to be interested in handheld gaming. A person then has to be interested in Windows as the solution to handheld gaming. And then a person then has to say, this device, whether it's for specs or the unified UI, is a more attractive, right, acquisition than some other Windows handheld device. So, right, you get to smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller markets where any of these questions even make a difference. So I think, yes, maybe, verily, right, it definitely increases the value prop of the original Ally. Absolutely. Is somebody who's in the handheld market looking at, deltas when we're talking about maybe a $50 price differential? I don't know. That's like going to be extremely particular what their specific requirements are. So I don't think it makes that huge of a difference. I think, my biggest difference with the way a lot of people who are the Xbox faithful are thinking about this device is I don't think that this device pierces the veil, right, at a very large scale beyond people who have the unique requirements or the unique interests in PC gaming and handheld gaming. I think it'll grab a few. It'll be a gateway drug for a few in a very small number. I don't think it's significantly impactful, right, in terms of like how many of these devices to get out. I don't think this overtakes the Steam Deck just because you put Xbox on it, because the Steam Deck has a head start and people are embedded in the Steam ecosystem, and most PC gamers, I would contend the vast majority of the market, prefer the Steam application right over the Xbox app, and so on and so on and so forth. So I think, you know, the key thing is the KPIs don't matter, right? How many units it sells don't matter. It goes back to what Everborn asked originally. It's OKRs, right? And strategically, how does this shift mind share? And where does this thing flower out to in terms of getting to other handhelds, getting to the hybrid device, getting to desktop? So yes, I think it will make a change. I don't think that change will make any real difference, right, in the market. And for people who want to find me, I don't know who that would be, but you can catch me on the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays.
Thank you so much. And I hope whenever he feels like it, you can also catch him here, because he always has that ticket. He's always ready to come jump in and join us and fill your ears with all of his very well reasoned, very thought out takes. Thanks again, Game Logic, for being here as usual. Thank you so much. Everborn Saga, thank you for being here, sir. I know he was on his vacation, but he had to step in and talk a bit about this handheld, which we're all excited for. So thank you, Everborn, for spending a little bit of time. Thanks to Mrs. Everborn for allowing the man to have some time to come and do that. Again, happy Father's Day weekend to all the great folks. Zach Riley also leaves a member chat. He's been a member for 14 months. He says, please go play the altars. It is really good. Zach Riley, you are not wrong. I'm literally playing the altars right now. I'm not really playing it. I just have it. I have it on my device. As soon as this show is done, that is what I'll be playing. And the fact that it is playing and looking so smooth on a handheld device, thing is great. I can't wait to play it. It looks awesome. Now, final super chat of the day, and that is Hector, the Macho Man. Thank you, Hector, for being here with a $5 super chat. He says, just here to give Kay Asante his flowers because he said on multiple occasions that Xbox would take the PC/console approach. Smell your flowers, brother. Well, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. This is not me not being messy on the internet, but we've been about this life for a minute, and we appreciate y'all recognizing it. It's good. When this thing comes out fully, we will most likely, obviously talk about it. There are enough pay pigs on this here show, and this here community probably will have our hands on it, all that. But yeah, there's more to come in that realm. We'll definitely be talking about it. We're definitely excited. The last thing I would say is, we're going to be doing a lot more handheld talk. There'll be a lot more of that in this environment, in this community as well. I really want to delve deep. What we did here with me showing off the handheld like this, I think it's super useful. A lot more people are getting to see what these UI things look like and why you'd care about them and all of that. So maybe we'll do a bit more of that as well. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, anything you guys think that would help the community move forward a bit better as far as stuff you want to see, don't hesitate. Reach out to me. Let me know, and we'll think about incorporating it. But yeah, I think that's it for now. One last bit of housekeeping. We will be showing off the community watch party event. There is a video for it that will come out that we will be posting on this channel and many other channels as well. So be on the lookout for that. We had a great time. Lots of awesome people came out and really put their time and their effort and their money together to make this thing great. So when the video posts, please watch it. And next year when you hear it's coming about, don't hesitate. Go and sign up and maybe join us in real life so you can be a part of that community as well. Oh, the Infinite Umbra left the last member chat here. He's been a member 14 months. He says, how did you know in complete detail, Kay? Oh, we all ain't got no sources. Oh, stop it. That's for those in the Discord who know. we try to be about that great introspective conversation. There are no leakers in that Discord. There are no sources, so don't come for us anyway. But that's it. I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We came, we saw, we conquered. Thank you, Lucius. Thank you, Game Logic. Thanks to Everborn Saga and the great Paris Lily. We're gonna be here again next week. But until then, I think that's it. We did the damn thing, and you know how we do it. Peace.
Nice to be in orbit.